All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going to be going over and giving our predictions for each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates. And to do that with me, as always, the Ohio player, my good friend, a man who would never share a lady. Chase Parton, how are you, sir?
Dude, I'm awesome. It's another good week. You know, we didn't have fights, but this will be my one and only mention. Obviously, one of the greatest combat sports in history, WrestleMania, just passed over the weekend. So everybody, I hope you got to enjoy that. But with no fights from the UFC, I definitely was not as happy as I could be coming into this.
Yeah, so I mean, you brought it up. We did see a number of UFC representation of the organization. Of course, a little brand synergy on the TKO Holdings front there with a couple of people. What was it like?
Actually, I'm glad you brought it up because we got to be introduced to Mr. Dana White on Saturday, at WrestleMania, and he was booed out the arena. So that was definitely something to note.
I did see something along those lines. Yes, so Dana was not only booed, but he also provided some kind of narration for like a promo video of some sort. Is that right?
That was pretty weird because it did start out as him just sucking Vegas off. Like, it was like, dude, this is the place you go. You can't do this anywhere else. Like, he's going crazy about it. And then wraps it all up. And he's like, the greatest event is now playing in the greatest place ever kind of deal. Because it was in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it was definitely interesting to watch Dana White get a little more involved into the business side of the WWE. I mean, he was there doing some self-promotion, obviously showing his face, and then with his voice narration of the video for Vegas. I mean, it was a pretty big glaring thing that he was involved on the two big nights of WrestleMania in some way.
Yeah, I mean, that it's an interesting question to me as to like how much of that is a directive from TKO and how much of that is him himself. Obviously, Dana White is not the type to take orders, quote unquote, but everybody's got their people to answer to, and I would think that there's probably if this is the level of cross promotion that they're going to be doing, like, I'm okay with it to this extent, but this is the farthest extent that I'm okay with. Like, if you see people from WWE at UFC events and vice versa, that's okay. Dana getting a little involved in like a promo package doesn't bother me, but like, it is sort of annoying because I don't like the intermingling of the two of them very, very much. But if it's just going to be this level, I guess it's okay. And I would think that the higher ups at TKO are probably wanting that, for brand synergy.
I think, and I'm leading into the other two cameos that we got for the UFC, but I want to start by saying, like, why is it such a problem that maybe Dana White and these other people are there because, one, they have family that they're taking, or B, they want to be a part of WrestleMania, or C, they just enjoy the sport of pro wrestling, and you don't really have to enjoy the actual sport of it, but the business aspect of it for Dana White, or there's other people who enjoy different things for the.
Because wrestling is fake and gay, Chase. Do you not know? I'm kidding.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. But so going into our other two cameos for other people that I just assume probably just went there because going to WrestleMania is something that they've probably always wanted to do since a kid, such as Israel Adesanya. I
Ah,
truly believe he went there because he probably grew up watching pro wrestling. Like he seems like the type of dude that he grew up watching it and going to WrestleMania. That's like that's the end of the year for him. It's like I'm going on vacation, I'm going to WrestleMania. That seems likely. Now, the one that was very interesting, and it also seemed like he was sitting a little too far back for the camera to even know that he was there. Marav Dvalishvili was also at WrestleMania.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, did he do anything, or was this kind of just like a quick shot of him?
Just sitting in the crowd watching,
Yeah.
just holding his belt.
And so, I think that goes back to the same question that I started off with: how much of it is like an Israel Adesanya, who, you know, and because I agree with you completely, Izzy is definitely the type to have been a big wrestling fan back in the day, and then how much of it is just like we want to have people representing the UFC in the crowd. And you're not. I mean, like the thing to me about the whole wrestling versus MMA thing is that like I enjoy them both separately. Like I very much can still get into some pro wrestling stuff. The modern stuff is not as great to me, but I'm probably looking at it through some nostalgia glasses, and a different, times were different, that kind of thing, whatever. But like, I can still enjoy it. Like if pro wrestling came to town, which I'm sure that it does, I know that a bunch of cities in Florida get it. Like if somebody said, "Do you want to go?" I'd be like, "Hell yeah, I'd absolutely go watch AEW or WWE or whatever." But like, it's just when they like cross over into each other that I think it like starts to kind of sully MMA a little bit personally, but like but I think that they're doing a good job of not letting that happen. And that's what I'm most happy about with the way that TKO is handling both brands together.
So I actually want to bring something up because I think it is a worthy topic because it does involve mixed martial arts. So there are two superstars, CM Punk, obviously you know who this one is.
Oh, I certainly do.
And the other one is Seth Rollins. Now, Seth Rollins has came out and said that he would like, and maybe it's just a character, maybe he just threw it, but a lot of people do believe that there is some real beef between them. Whatever. He came out and said, like, I would love to do some sort of cross promotion where we do an MMA match in pro wrestling, and I want to go against CM Punk. So
yeah, I think I saw like an image that had that quote on it. Definitely. I mean, I
you
guess I'm not.
obviously know it wouldn't be an MMA bout, like obviously.
Well,
But
no, but I mean, that was the impression that I got from that is that he actually wanted to do legitimate fighting. It's like if they're going to legitimately fight, then cool. But like, yeah, I definitely do not want to see any kind of like WWE style MMA. Like that would be an abomination, in my opinion. I'd be very upset with that. So yeah, if that happens, that would be like a death knell for me. Like as far as the sport goes, that's a real bad thing.
to spoil everything already, I actually think when Ronda Rousey crossed over, they did MMA style, pro wrestling bouts, and she's not there anymore, so it probably wasn't a hit.
Yeah, well, I had heard that she was not very well received in general in the wrestling world. I mean, like I didn't follow her, arc very much, but yeah, like I don't think that she was a big hit over there.
Well, if you really want to get into it, she tried to piggyback off of Rowdy Piper, I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah, the Rowdy Ronda
So
Rousey.
she fucking sucks at every, like she's not Rowdy Piper. Like, I mean, she's not even that type of personality, like kind of deal. Like she's not gonna get on the mic and just talk out her fucking ass, I don't know. So that's just the nitty gritty of it. But that's why she didn't work in WWE. But continue on. There's probably more other factors. But
Sure. Yeah, we saw Rhea Ripley, who is a pro wrestler. Yes. She was just doing a video in a drama. And then she was also in the crowd at 314, I believe.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say cheering on Volk, wearing the Volk shirt. Yes, she was also there.
She Australian?
She is Australian, yes.
There you go. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so
or maybe New Zealand. Don't quote me. One of the two.
Yeah, that region. I gotcha. So so I mean, like, really, I think that at the end of the day, like I had kind of said, is that it's good to see that if they're going to be under the same umbrella. We're gonna start. We'll get off of wrestling in just a second, Beeb. I promise you, brother. Beeb is throwing tomatoes in the chat. I appreciate that's fucking funny as shit. Anyway, to wrap it up, if it's going to be that both of these brands are under the same roof, I am glad that it's just this for now. Like what we were talking about with like the with like the like pro wrestling style MMA, that would be absolutely atrocious. Keep it away from the UFC. And like that kind of stuff can happen in WWE if they want it to. Like that WWE is for Fantasyland, UFC is for the real thing. As long as that bond is never broken, as far as that element goes, I'm okay with all of this synergy shit.
I think I have one last question about the event for you, because I think in the future, if this is going to be a partner brand type of thing, the UFC could adopt something like this, and I want to know your opinion.
Yeah.
So there was a couple entrances at WrestleMania where some of the fighters came out with tributes to advertisements like at the time. So two characters, they're the War Raiders. They came out dressed up as Clash of Clans characters, and there's a Clash of Clans update. There's a collab going on right now. Later on in the event, Drew McIntyre came out and he poses with a statue that's like a Doom Slayer kind of thing, and then they have a Doom Slayer advertisement that plays right after it, kind of deal. So I wonder, would the UFC do something like that, if they can get somebody like, Monster Energy is a big promoter about that thing. So what if they get somebody to come out and have an entrance that also is incorporating the Monster can kind of, you feel me?
I understand what you're saying. I would absolutely hate that personally. I think that would be really, really distracting and dumb. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
Do you want fighters to get paid more? Is my question.
But not like that, and it doesn't have to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like yeah, I understand. I see what you're saying, but no, don't. That's a false dichotomy there, because don't tell me that the organization is having to scramble for ways to pay fighters to do that shit. If the organization wanted to do that shit, they would fucking do that shit regardless of giving fighters more money.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? Like UFC's got plenty of money to pay fighters more. They just don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that like that needs to be the thing, but that would be a good way for the UFC to bring it in if they wanted to do that. Be like, oh well, it's for the fighters though.
Actually, don't even think about it for the UFC to do it. What if there's a fighter or a handful of fighters out there who beat the UFC to it, and they say, I'm gonna do an entrance they're not going to expect, because I'm going to incorporate an advertisement where I get a bunch of fucking money after, kind of deal.
Well, back in the day, old school, this golden age MMA stuff, there were fighters that did shit like that. Well, there's the famous story of the one fighter who had the Golden Palace semi-permanent tattoo, like that like Indian ink or whatever. Not like henna tattoo. Yeah, like a dude came out with like Golden Palace, was like a sponsor back in the day. Came out with that on his back, couldn't get it off, and they were doing the event, I think at Trump casino, or one of Trump's properties, and like they were like, fuck that, you can't be advertising another casino or whatever, and it almost ended up like tanking the card, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I mean, like doing like guerrilla marketing, I guess you could kind of call it, with that kind of stuff, I think is not a great idea for the fighters, because they're only going to serve to piss off the organization and probably get their asses kicked out for doing shit like that. But I mean, if you are on your last fight of your contract and you want to go out with like, an extra $100,000, then you'll get Dana in the post-fight press conference saying, damn, that was a dumbass stunt, and kicking your ass out. But hey, $100,000 richer, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. And actually, I know Beeb was throwing tomatoes, so we will wrap up the WWE talk, because clearly there's more important matters that Beeb needs us to answer. The
Absolutely.
Island Boys MMA fight, apparently, guys. Who wins? I don't know. Aren't they brothers?
Is this a real thing?
I have no fucking clue, but these are pressing matters, apparently. These are the things we have to talk about for Beeb.
I mean, I hadn't heard about that, if it's a real thing, but if it is a real thing, tell me which one is which, and I'll decide who I think could actually do something in an MMA fight. Those guys are twigs. I mean, like they'd be snapping each other in half.
Yeah, true. Okay. Back to
right.
The card. That was a good time. I appreciate that.
There you go. A little moment. And look, TKO Holdings is the parent company of the UFC. This is all related. It's all in the same world. If you don't like the wrestling talk, then you go and be raising hell about the fact that they're under the same umbrella, like I was a year ago.
True. Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Which you shouldn't be, because these are two, like, honestly, if you think about it, TKO being a partner of one of obviously the biggest sports promotion in pro wrestling history. Like that's a fact. Like the WWE is never going to be topped as of right now.
Yeah.
TKO owns that. The next one is like the fastest growing promotion in mixed martial arts, which is like the fastest growing sport.
Oh,
I
and
mean,
it is the top of the heap regardless. I mean, I don't care what the numbers say as far as like, if one championship has like some huge amount of support in Thailand or something. Because like you see that a lot of times where like in YouTube it's very prevalent where like if you have a country like the Philippines is a good example. They just have a population density that like really groundswells over certain stuff. So like you'll see like if like let's say for example like you have it's come from battle rap. This is a fine example of it. Like battle rap, like you got people from Canada and the United States doing it all the time. There, you get a Filipino battle rapper, or you go over to the Philippines to battle rap. The views on those videos are like 5x. It's insane the amount of extra traffic you get. So my point in saying all of that is, I don't care if like the metrics say that there's another MMA promotion out there that's bigger than the UFC. The UFC is the top of the heap, and there's nothing that's going to challenge that right now, anyway.
well, I think my point that I'm making ultimately is like if you don't understand what I'm saying, put your faith in TKO or wherever this amalgamation of groups is going, because right now the WWE the only thing they can lose is just another scandal, and they've obviously blown past like those every single time. So there's nothing taking them down. And then
Well,
when it comes to the UFC, obviously, I mean, scandals, they're just scandal fucking, they get scandals all the time and just continue rolling. Dana White can, I'm not going to bring up what he can do, but he can go out here and do whatever he wants and continue on. So my point is put your stock in TKO, because these are companies, like whatever the numbers may be, like you look at Netflix and the stock is worth 500 a share, but then you look at TKO and it's only like 140. It's like, in my opinion, I don't get how Netflix got all the way up to that motherfucking number compared to these two promotions that are just never going to stop chugging in money. Like, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
yeah. Well, speaking of scandals, I guess that's a good way to transition into this card that we're talking about tonight. So why don't we take this thing onto the rails and talk a little bit about UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates.
And
This,
actually, sorry, it was funny. B, thank you for making that comment. We're not going to talk about it, but yeah, that was that was
okay.
a
Sorry.
really, yeah. You shouldn't have put that one on the
I
screen,
know.
but
Yeah, I
that was
probably
good. That
shouldn't have
was good.
highlighted that
That
one,
was
but
good. Okay, heading
okay.
into the card.
I put that up there because to me that is a throwback to Yama 1, because that was the first story that was ever covered on the Yama program. So whatever, it's part of the sport. You talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Scandals.
yeah, let's talk about UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates here. Get this train a moving. So UFC Fight Night, Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. This is taking place at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Starting this thing off all the way down here, we've got Evan Elder versus Gage Young. Now, this fight has gone through several permutations. This originally started off as Mitch Ramirez versus Ahmad Hassanzada, and then Evan Elder took over for Mitch Ramirez, and then a scandal broke out with Ahmad Hassanzada, Gage Young stepping in for him. So I guess I can go into a little bit more detail about this fight, but just to touch on the scandal aspect of it a little bit, there is a video out on the channel now that goes into detail about it, but basically to summarize what happened there, Ahmad Hassanzada, only days before making his debut, was arrested for sexual violence against a minor. So another day, another predator in the MMA world, unfortunately. But he's been booked on this pair of felony charges and was not able to make bail, from what I understand, $400,000 bail. He's still in county, and that's pretty much where that is at. So no new updates since the video came out. But Chase, you got any thoughts about this?
Honestly, no, because unfortunately, when it comes to horrible things, my mind is just quick to make light of it, and I feel horrible for the situation. But this dude, he could not have done something worse. Like he's just ridiculous. Like that's just foul, man.
Yeah, it's beyond. I mean, look, allegedly, as what I say in the video, allegedly, we don't know all of the details yet. Innocent until proven guilty, all of that stuff. But if the allegations are true, this is truly heinous shit.
Yeah, this is not the allegations you want. I know it is. What'd you say? Innocent until proven by, you know,
Yeah, guilty by
it's
a court of law.
yeah. This is just not the. These are not the allegations that you even like want to give a chance to. You know.
These are the kind of allegations that get you killed in prison. Is what happens there. I mean, violence against a child of that nature, of the sexual variety, is about as bad as it gets in our society. And you know. I didn't talk about it in the video, and I don't want to go into too much detail about it because it's a very sensitive and touchy kind of thing. But this dude is from Afghanistan, and there's a cultural aspect there that certain communities have different mentalities when it comes to how they handle young people, and it don't fly in the modern world. So I'm not saying that that's all of Afghanistan. I'm not saying that that had any part in this necessarily, but if there's any correlation there, and this is the same for like the Orthodox Jewish community also has problems with this. Like, this is not just like one type of people or anything like that. I'm saying that there are just communities around the world that have problems with the way that they handle young people or what they think is okay with young people, and it needs to fucking stop.
Yeah, I actually think that was. I didn't even think about it at first, but the most important thing is like, bro's over here on a visa, like, and he just or like he comes over here and he does this. It's like I don't think we're gonna be too easy on him and like the judging system, whatever you want to think. Like,
I said that he is going to get an eternity in prison or something worse than that, or they send him back to Afghanistan with nothing, and then maybe that's its own version of a sentence.
yeah, true. Yeah, I hear that.
So yeah, so we don't really know exactly what happened there, Beeb, because Beeb is asking, and I thought this was actually pretty funny. Yes, his fight is canceled. I don't know why it's not showing, but anyway. But yeah, no, he's accused of some very serious allegations against a minor. There it went. But yeah, so Ahmad Hassanzada is pulled from the card. Gage Young is stepping in for him. Let me run these two guys down real quick. Evan Elder is 9-2. He's 2-2 in the UFC, 3-2 in his last 5. His run in the UFC started with a pair of losses, one of which was to Preston Parsons, which is but the other one was to Nazim Sadikov, so that ages kind of well. He followed the losses up with a pair of wins over Gennaro Valdez and Darius Flowers. Gage Young is also 9-2. He is 4-1 in his last 5, all outside of the UFC. Of course, this is his official debut. His one loss was on the Contender Series to Quillen Salkild, who just picked up a nice win at UFC proper in his debut. But all 4 of his last wins have been knockouts.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, when it comes to this one, I look at Evan Elder, and if you're going to sit here and tell me that he's fought in the UFC before, okay, well, I clearly have been, yeah, see, look, he's obviously not somebody that I need to be on the radar for kind of deal. So that's the tail of the tape for that guy. But when you come over to Gage Young, he's a dude that when I watch the Contender Series, and obviously this is great marketing on their end, they obviously know how to put a little story package together, because Gage Young he seemed like a real chill dude. He looks like I'm trying to think of the story. I want to say I don't know, stuff was ringing in my head when I started thinking about him, but Gage Young just seems like a type of dude that wants to be a fighter. He obviously was called back for a reason after not winning on the Contender Series. I mean, to go to decision against Salkild is pretty good, because I remember thinking Salkild was like damn near decent. But Gage Young, I mean, seems like one of those wild card guys that Dana kept in the back of his mind, like, call him. He's the guy to call. And then you get people like Kevin Holland in situations like that, like I like a guy like that.
And I think you're exactly right in your thought process there, because this is one of the fights. I did a little bit of going back and running the tape back. I often say, go back to our old episodes and listen to what we have to say to get our full opinion. So I did that. And I did it for a couple of these fighters. This was one of them. And listening back to our discussion of this fight, you were giving Gage some pretty high praise. You know, you were really impressed with the way that he was. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. You were impressed with the way that he was conducting himself in the fight. I just said that Salkild was just a little bit better, but Gage was putting that work in. So I'm okay with this. And really, I mean, based on the two of them, this could be one of the dudes coming in from outside on short notice who might be able to get the job done. I'd be a little bit cautious of that, of course, given the circumstances. This is extremely short notice. I mean, this is less than a week notice now. And Elder is, I think, I mean, he had been on the fight, I think, for like a couple of weeks. So it's like, it's also short notice for him, but like longer. So gauge that, however, no pun intended, gauge it however you want, you know, and what makes most sense for you from a betting perspective. But I would lean towards Elder only because of the UFC level experience. I mean, a win over Darius Flowers is I mean, it's, you know, it's at least in the organization proper. It's the big show. He's been used to the lights and all that kind of stuff. That would be my only thought process in that part. But I do think that there is potential for Gage Young to come out and prove something.
Well, I mean, it's the first fight of the night and it's on short notice. So I think giving this the booking first, knowing it's on short notice and knowing that you have some dudes that might go out there and throw down, I think we're going to get a knockout here soon.
Yeah, I mean, look, 4 knockouts outside of the UFC. I mean, that does show that there's power there. I don't know all the circumstances of each one, but I mean, you know, it's like you get the Quill and Salkild loss right there in the middle, and then it's just knockouts on either side in the last 5. So.
Yeah, and listen, I'm big on making an impression. If I remember you, it's good. And if Dana remembers you, I'm telling you, I didn't even think about that until just now. And I think that's a really good point. When the fight went down and he said, okay, that fucking retard over there in California, whatever he's doing in prison now. And he's like, call Gage Young. I know this guy's a fucking kill. He probably didn't say that. He was probably like, who's that guy that went to decision with Salkild, you know? And that's the type of shit that you want to be. You want to be that type of fighter and the type of fighter to say yes to this fight. Because if you come in here and win, I mean, hey, you're on the radar, buddy. At lightweight is pretty crazy because this is such a stacked division, but we are in an era flopping era, you know, so we're getting the new talent now. So
always, yeah. I mean, you know, new talent always cycling through, and you know, it's just cyclical always in this sport. So yeah, it could very well be the next wave. But I just like the image, though. I want to believe the image of Dana finding out the news about Hassanzada, and then just, you know, the camera slowly zooms in and he picks up the phone and says, call Gage Young.
Exactly.
So I like that.
Mr. President, we need Gage Young.
Bingo. Exactly. Get him on a chopper stat.
Yep. He's going to swoop down, bust through the windows, and beat up Evan Elder first round.
Just comes sliding down on like the rope that comes down from the ceiling.
Talk about an entrance. You want to go if Gage Young comes down like one of the Hart brothers with he wins. I mean, there's no way you're beating this guy.
Make it happen, like, Gage Young.
The camera's panned on the entrance. Like, where is he?
Yeah.
He's up there.
There you go. Exactly. You know, either do that or come in and get a really good knockout, but one of the two. It has to be one of the two.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, I mean, so, okay, based on that and based on the fact that this is all we're talking about right now, Chase, you got to give a prediction. So what's your call on this one?
I'm actually glad you went back and watched what we said earlier. If I was high on Gage Young before, and I remember I didn't remember his name, but I saw his face and I'm like, ooh, I remember. He's got that rugged look to him. Like, you know, I grew up a fighter kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with him for sure. At 24 too.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the other one thing I just wanted to quickly check. Yeah, I mean, you know, you see, he's got the one knockout. We're talking about Evan Elder here. Evan Elder has one knockout outside of the UFC, then the 2 losses to start the career, like I said, and then, you know, the submission win and then a unanimous decision. It's like, those are great, but if Gage Young is out here knocking heads off, then, and we both liked him on the Contender Series, I think that this is a good dog. I don't even know if he's going to be the dog.
He is. He's already a dog +2 something. It's pretty
okay. Crazy. Then I'd say that that's a barking dog right there. So I'm going for it as well. Gage Young, get the job done for Yama over here. Get it done for last week's fights, and we will sing your praises on the next episode of this show.
This is the type of dude that after he wins, we could reach out and be like, yo, we got some merch for you because we've been putting you on, dude. I'm telling you.
Absolutely. Follow the checkmate model. Shout out to those guys doing some
Hell
big
yeah.
things with their sponsorships. All right. Well, if we had a lot to say about that fight, I've got even more to say about this piece of shit fight, Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. If you listen to the last episode of this show, I already kind of previewed it, but I believe that if you asked me personally, what is the worst fight you could possibly make in women's MMA, this would be it. This is two of the biggest sacks in this sport going head to head. So this to me, I really pray is a loser goes home match because I just cannot stand either of these fighters. I'm sure they're very lovely people as fighters. Hate them both. Chase.
I think you're incorrect here. Because I actually changed my mind about the next fight and we'll talk about that. But
Okay.
this fight, I feel like might end up the same way. These are two dudes. These are two women that aren't necessarily, like the most technical, the most skillful. They're not the best at what they do. They're not the worst in the division, but they're just in that middle ground. But these two women have potential to come out here and have a real sloppy, meaty hook, just bodies just clashing into each other type of matchup. This is going to be pretty ugly, but I think that's what's going to make it fun, is how gritty it's going to be. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of clinching, a lot of trips going forward. We might see some trips get success. Jocelyn Edwards is obviously my pick to sit on top of her and do some ground and pound, maybe get a sub, but I don't believe that's what's going to happen because I think a lot of it's going to be, again, clinch work against the cage, bodies rubbing against each other. I don't think this is going to be great, but I think the entertainment factor will be there because, like you said, Chelsea Chandler at 6-3, she's missed weight 3 times, I believe, and she has been ranked still, which is pretty crazy because she's not good at all. She runs away from her competition. We saw it in the fucking meme every time. But Jocelyn Edwards, on the other hand, another person who's not necessarily great, but will throw down. This is the girl who, beat up Eileen Perez backstage because she's just about her fucking shit. This is the person who got beat by Eileen Perez and almost had a kiss after the fight. Like, I mean, you can't gauge just the level of competition that Jocelyn Edwards brings. I mean, I'm just telling you, this is going to be a good one, easy win for Jocelyn.
All right, fair. Well, I'll run down some stats, but before I do so, saw this in the chat. We have merch. Beeb and anyone else listening, if you hit up Chase Parton on Twitter or Instagram at CP Smalls or at Creative Parton, you can get yourself a Last Week's Fights shirt right now. So anybody looking for merch, hit up Chase on Twitter or Instagram, and he will hook you up.
Hell yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so let's run down a couple of stats here, some facts about these ladies. For Chelsea Chandler, 6-3, 2-2 in the UFC, which is amazing to me. The UFC record is a literal candy cane, goes from a win over Julia Stolyarenko to a loss to Norma Dumont, win over Josiane Nunes to a loss to Yana Santos ni Yana Kunitskaya. And as you mentioned, famous for her Indiana Jones boulder run across the octagon and coming in looking like a sack of milk in every fight. Jocelyn Edwards is 14-6, 3-2 in her last 5. She should be 4-1 in her last 5, and this is something important. I'm glad that I got to the notes on this. Fun fact, Chase: MMA Junkie's robbery of the year for 2023. Jocelyn Edwards defeating Lucy Podolova, and I agree 10,000%. If you, I implore anyone who has not seen that fight to go back and watch the absolute travesty of judging that fight was. This was the worst robbery that I have ever seen, and like I do mean that. It's even worse than GSP over Johnny Hendricks.
She won, or wait, you said she was 3-2 in her last 5, but should be 4-1.
Oh, excuse me. She should be. Sorry. Yeah. Other way around.
Okay.
She should be 2. She should be 2-2. Wait, 2-3.
2-3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So
sorry.
Okay. I was thinking. I was like, damn, 4-1 in her last 5, and you're still not a fan. Like,
no. I misspoke on that. Sorry, I got those mixed up. Yeah. She should be 2-3.
Yeah, and all that aside, you may not like her. You may understand that both of these women are listed at weights that aren't even weight classes on ESPN because they miss weight so frequently. I think that's actually really funny to note. Like, normally when you go to the weights, it'll be like 170, 155. Just noticed, this is crucial to note, Evan Elder should be coming down a weight class. His weight is listed at 170 on there.
Mm-hmm.
So crucial to know on short notice.
Oh, good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Weird. Now that I think about that, even weirder. But this one,
Well, either
Chelsea
that
Chandler,
or this could be they might be letting Gage Young just just not have to make weight kind of thing. They
true. Yeah, you are right. You are right.
Could
but
be.
this
I
one,
don't know. They have it listed at lightweight, so I don't know.
But back to it, it is funny. Chelsea Chandler 141, Jocelyn Edwards 139. If that's anywhere close to what they've made before, obviously they just fucking suck. But we know they miss weight. Who's gonna make weight this time? We don't know. But I can tell you one thing: Jocelyn Edwards, Miss Thunder Thighs herself, will be putting on a performance that you will not forget. She comes out in white this time, I'm hoping.
Chase is a fan. If you couldn't tell, Edwards, she losses to Eileen Perez and Nora Cornell, both age pretty well, I would say. But wins over Tamiris Vidal and Ji-Yoon Kim, both of whom were on multi-fight losing streaks at the time. Again, not really like doing her any favors, but I do think that Edwards should take this win. She is a better technical fighter, I would say. Like
you said, who?
Edwards.
Oh, I was about to say,
yeah. So Edwards is she's a more technically well-rounded fighter, even if she's not great at it. You know what I mean? Like she's one of those people that it reminds me a lot of stand-up comedy. Chase, you ever see a comedian who their jokes aren't funny, but they have the rhythm down. So where like the punch is that if you think of that about him, then fine. Fair.
I mean, he didn't last, but he always used to yell. I mean, Gabriel Iglesias is another one I would say probably.
It's just like there are some comedians where it's like where the punchline is supposed to go, and you have the rhythm of comedy, but you're just not that great at it. So if those guys are that for you, then fine. But like that's what Jocelyn Edwards reminds me of, where it's like she has the beats of a fighter, but she's just not great at fighting.
Yeah, coming from Panama, being one of the only representatives, she's got to come out here and do what she always does best, and I think make it dirty. She does a good job of just being in, and we've talked about it before. There's a couple different things. Well, being in a mixed martial arts bout and you're playing the point system, these are two people that are not going to do that. Like these are just going to come in here and try to win the fight, quote unquote. I think Chelsea Chandler not necessarily going to try to win as much as she's going to, be her fucking blobby self. But Jocelyn Edwards, I think, should come out here and put on a winning performance. Should I say?
Yeah, I would hope so. Because I think that Chandler leaves a lot of real estate for Edwards to work with. Like if she can back her up against the cage, that's going to be a really good thing for her, because Edwards does have long legs. She can teep her way to the cage, get some good strikes in that way. There are a lot of options, I think, for Edwards in this fight. And Chandler on the other side, like I really feel like she's one of those fighters that just sort of feels her way through a fight in hopes. And so it's like, if you actually have a little bit of a game plan going into it, you should be able to take her out.
I agree. And shout out to Beeb for knowing ball. Jocelyn is taking the W.
There you go. Well,
we'll put his comment on the screen, won't you?
Come on. Sorry. Now. Okay. Geez. Yeah. Well,
thank you, Beeb.
Appreciate you, Beeb.
I shoot out. Come on.
I've been highlighting Beeb all stream over here. That's the homie. I try to make sure that he's represented
with us right now. Shout out to everybody else who's not commenting. If you're here, go ahead and leave a comment and a like right now, of course. So
appreciate y'all. Let's talk about this next one while people are doing that. Timmy Kwamba versus Roberto Romero. This is Timmy Kwamba, 8-3. He's on a 2-fight losing streak in the UFC with losses to Balaji Oki and Lucas Almeida. Won on the Contender Series, didn't get a contract, got a win outside of the organization, got into the UFC, and has now lost twice. Romero on the other side is 8-4-1, 3-2 in his last 5. Lost to David Onama in a banger of a fight on short notice in his debut, which I'm glad they kept this guy around because he was a killer in that fight. Onama was just a little bit better of a killer on the night, but it was short notice. I think that Romero was a really hot product in that fight.
So here was my initial thoughts. I saw these names and I said, well, stinker alert. Like, I don't really care too much. I mean, now after I look at the names again and I have a new perception of that, this is going to be a grudge kind of sloppy, sludge, meaty hooks being thrown. Not a very technical matchup, but I don't see either of them putting each other out. Here's my hot take. I even think this will be a brutal war to the third. I think it'll go to decision. It'll be a split decision. And I think this is potential fight of the night right here.
Wow. All right. I mean, the only thing that I take issue with in your assessment there is the technical aspect of it, because I think that Romero might surprise you in that aspect. Because
He
I
is
think,
Mexican. I do love my Mexican featherweights. Here we go.
yeah, no, and he's definitely like he fits the mold of that. And I thought that if I recall, maybe I'm misremembering, but I recall in his fight with Onama that like he really was like looking decent in his movement, and his striking was really crisp. So I think that there might be a little bit of a surprise on that aspect of it. Kwamba hurting for a win right now, so I mean he might be coming out here with a point to prove of his own. But I mean, Romero, like I had mentioned, he came in on short notice in his debut, had a great fight, but did lose it. So, on a one fight, loss streak, I can't really call it a streak, but he's coming off of a loss, trying to keep himself in this organization, wants to be here. I would assume. So it's like I think that there's a lot on both sides that is riding on this fight for either fighter. So I think you're right. I think it has potential to be a really good banger.
I'm looking a little ahead. Potential fight of the night is going to be hard. I mean, there are some pretty decent ones, but I think there's only two other valid options in my opinion. So when this comes up, I think we will leave this fight and going into the next one, we will be very, very like high on this. Like, wow, that was the best fight of the card so far, of course. But then going on to it, I think this is going to be the high point of the prelims. We're going to slow down going into the next one. I'll say why, but we'll slow down a little bit and then we'll pick up a little later.
Yeah, no, I think that this has some good potential. You see, the odds on this book are pretty much a pick 'em right now. I mean, this is about as even as it gets, -105 to -115 for Romero as the higher, quote unquote favorite. But yeah, I think that this is a really good matchup here, and I'm going for Romero on this one. Again, you got to make your predictions as well, Chase. You got to predict.
I'll take my Mexican guy for real,
Yeah.
Roberto. I mean, I think the odds are close because I think I painted the picture perfect. This is going to be a good one to go back to. I'm telling you, split decision for Roberto. Lock it in right now because
Yeah.
it's going to be a sludge, and he's going to put some more damage on Timothy.
And I did want to just quickly highlight, I know our audio only listeners can't see this, but last episode you had commented on Romero's hairstyle, and looking at it in this bigger picture here, he needs to fix that before he comes into the cage, because that is not working.
Yeah, I don't know if there's just some male pattern baldness going on somewhere on the top there, or if that's just how he rocks. I don't know, but yeah, I'm agreeing. Go bald at that point, buddy.
He's got the thing that I have, where it's like he's got like like a line that sort of starts forming, where it's like a part that yeah, I don't know, but his goes both directions. So
Yeah.
interesting. Anyway, but yeah, no, I think that this fight has a lot of potential to be really, really good. So keep an eye out for that fight.
Yeah, Beeb, thank you for the weak hairstyle comment. I'm glad Thinker brought it up because I love when we talk about the hairstyles. It's part, coming, the look is 10 times part of it. I'm telling you, if Jocelyn Edwards comes out in the white draws, she's cooking already. She's already won in my book. So,
all right. Well, we'll see. Hopefully she does then. But speaking of ladies, let's move it on to the next ladies fight of the evening. This is Jacqueline Amarim versus Polyana Viana. Amarim is 9-1, 4-1 in her last 5, with a win over Vanessa Demopoulos and a loss to Sam Hughes, which I thought was a little bit strange, but that is Sam Hughes, who is able to win when you think she should lose and able to lose when you think she should win. So it is what it is there. Polyana Viana is 13-7. She has been around for a while. 2-3 in her last 5, losses to Tabitha Ricci, Asmin Lucindo, and Jillian Robertson, wins over Jinyu Fry and Mallory Martin, whoever the hell that is.
I will start by saying that I think my gut instinct is to not believe that Jacqueline Amarin is going to walk in and walk out with a submission victory. At some point, the promotion is going to throw somebody who's not going to get caught in the submissions that everybody else is getting. She's not going to get armbarred. She's not going to get blah, blah, blah. Some woman coming down the line is going to be that for Jacqueline Emery. And my thought process is this is going to be this one. Because Jacqueline, not only is she a submission artist, but she does have a decent amount of TKO victories. And I will say it's possible this time she gets a weird early stoppage TKO kind of deal, or we get a not boring decision, but we maybe get a decision that is Jacqueline should win unanimously, I'll say.
Yeah, I'm going unanimous decision for Amarim on this one.
Not
Viana,
sub, really?
no, yeah, no, definitely not, because Viana has been around for long enough that this is another situation where it's like she has to have the awareness at this point to be able to hang in there and not just get caught in obvious traps. She's not going to be pulling a what's her name, Pooja Tamar type situation. You know what I mean? Where it's just like making the obvious mistakes. Like that doesn't scream to me what's going to happen when it comes to Polyana Viana. But I think that Amarim's going to be, I basically think it's going to be a lot of attempts without success. I think it's going to be her getting Polyana to the ground. I think it's going to be her doing a lot of tactical maneuvering kind of situation, trying to advance positions. Viana's just going to kind of roll with the attempts and kind of try to get herself out of it, but she's going to get tied up, and it's just going to be a lot of ground game with not a lot of success on either side.
I would like to ask before I make my point. This is Alex Pejeda's ex-girlfriend, yes?
Correct. Polyana Viana is the ex-girlfriend of Poatan.
Now, this is the first time we've seen her fight since the breakup. We've seen Poatan fight 4 or 5 times. Yeah,
I think she might have fought one time before. I mean, one time after they had already broken up. I think that the Robertson fight. Yeah, because that was this year. So.
Oh, okay. No, that was last year.
Oh gosh, you were right. Jesus Christ. Yeah, January of last year. Holy crap. No, you're right. Okay, fair enough then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she hasn't fought since the breakup. And as a casual viewer who only knows her as the ex-girlfriend of Shama, all spotlights on you, girl. I mean, if you don't recover from this breakup, he's been a champ and he's done lost the belt in the time. Like, he's done created himself as a global superstar. If you want to be better than your ex, I mean, you got a lot to prove here. I mean, you're a big dog. You got to come out here and do a lot of stuff right. So we'll see what happens.
And along that line, what is it about Alex Pereira? I want to give the guy some praise for being a smooth criminal with the ladies, because there is something about Alex that when the girls when they break up, him and his ladies, the ladies are rather scornful about it, because Viana had some stuff to say, and then his other ex, who's like his ex-fiance, I guess she's like a podcaster or whatever, the one I had talked about her on a Yama episode not too long ago.
She's a nobody, brother. Come on.
Well, man. I mean, whatever. I mean, she's in the content space in some capacity, but I don't know. Somebody must listen to her. She probably got a bump on her viewership off of being with him. She is fine as hell too. So I mean, come on, let's call a spade on that one.
True.
But either way, I mean, she always the first person to open her mouth anytime there's something negative to say about Alex, it's her. So Alex is a bit of a heartbreaker.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when your hands are made of stone, you can only do so much in life. The thing from the Fantastic Four had himself a baddie too, man, and he got married. So listen.
Yeah, there you go. You're making a good point, I suppose. But either which way, Poatan doing the damn thing with the ladies and keeping them angry. So this is your chance, Polyana Viana. Come out here and get a nice win to show the world that you are no second fiddle to your ex.
Well, and so it's key to watch her walk out, because if she comes out looking like she's over it, well, she's definitely losing. I need to see some grit. I need you to bring the energy like, I'm moving past Alex. I'm going to be the mixed martial artist in this ex relationship. I'm going to be the champ. If she comes out and she don't give a shit, she's going to get beat up. But if she comes out looking like she's ready to tear some heads off, I might believe it a little bit. That's all I'm saying. True. Women are catty. I'm telling. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. And I mean, hopefully she'll be able to keep that in an MMA capacity, as opposed to just going in there like catty chick street fight sort of situation. But
look at Norma Dumont. I mean, I know it was a long time ago for Miss Vienna, but Norma Dumont, didn't she have her ex-husband in the corner, and she
Oh gosh, yeah, and she ended up getting like stolen from, right? Wasn't that the whole story there? That
something like that?
I think that was her. I don't. Maybe
That
I'm
was on
maybe.
the Sphere too. That was Irina Aldana, I think, is the story, but I could be wrong there.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Well, any which way, I still think that Amarim's taken this win. So it's Pollyanna's chance to prove something. Maybe she might, but I think that the minus 750 on Amarim is pretty well placed in this one, I would say.
Yeah,
But
shut up.
before we move on, though, Chase, I did want to, since we're talking about exes and all this kind of stuff, have you ever heard the story about Pollyanna Viana and Colby Covington?
I have not, but maybe I'm not surprised. She loves her global superstars.
Yeah, so she was linked to Colby at
Oh,
one
I'm
point.
sorry. Colby was at WrestleMania too. That's how little I cared.
I did see that also. Yeah, we did not mention Colby, and I'm glad we didn't. Fuck him. But
Yeah.
yeah. The speaking of fucking him, Pollyanna Viana is an ex of Colby's, and there was you talk about contentious breakups. If you go out there and find the tweet, I'm sure you can if you do a little bit of digging. Pollyanna Viana had a very interesting reason for breaking up with Colby, and it involved fingers and where those fingers go. I'll leave it right there, and you can do your own research on
You
that.
know what? No, we're going to talk about this in the past. See, this is what women do. When you break up with them, they try to do anything to slander you. And if it's not, if it's not public embarrassment, it's getting back at you and your shit. So, and I don't personally go through that, but I've heard the stories. I've dealt with a lot of nice women in my days. Pollyanna Vienna, all I got to say is just come out here and get the dub. Fuck Colby Covington, folk Alex, get the dub.
All right, fair enough. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned and all that.
True.
All right, let's move on. Malcolm Wellmaker versus Cameron Simon. Wellmaker 8-0, perfect record currently. UFC debut after a knockout win on the Contender Series. Cameron Simon 9-2, 3-2 in his last 5, 2-fight losing streak currently. Christian Rodriguez and Peyton Talbot being the people who beat him. Yeah, not great for Simon right now. On our discussion, this is another one that I went back to listen to what we had to say about his Contender Series fight, and you gave Malcolm Wellmaker some incredibly high praise, and I'll tell you how I know this, because you are Josh Van's #1 fan. I think that we can say that pretty accurately. You said on this very show, Chase, that this guy, Malcolm Wellmaker, could very well be the next Josh Van.
Now that you bring it up, I feel like I remember you, not you saying that, but, having the discussion about it. This dude's a bantamweight, and he does, listen, if I said that at the time, I'm really ready to see what he brings this time. I don't know how I could forget. I mean, obviously, he must have done some great things for me to say some things like that. And if he fights anything like Josh Van, and if he makes me, this is one of those ones where I'll watch and be like, oh, this is that fucking guy. Yeah, we're winning. Like, I mean, sometimes people are so good, you forget them. I know that's crazy to think. And, I always talk about make sure you're memorable. But, like, if you're just another guy in the Contender Series that smokes a guy, I'm not looking out for you until you get in the UFC and do it again, kind of deal. Like, you're clearly above that level. Like, it's like, oh, it's a wash. Like, I'll come back to you when you're.
Yeah, and you know what proves that exact point is literally this and the fight after it on the Contender Series when we were talking about it. This fight happened. He did smoke his opponent. The next fight right after it was Marco Tulio.
Nice.
And so that was like the one that stuck out to me, because of the dynamics there. But you're exactly right, because this dude, he came out and flash knockout kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to remember every single time you see somebody get knocked out. We see thousands of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm really excited because Cameron Simon, I mean, listen, if anybody has a lot riding on them, on their reputation as a fighter, not really, he's not getting out the league or anything. If he takes another loss, I mean, we'll see him again. I mean, it's only two. It would only be two in a row after
But I
Peyton
mean,
Talbot. I mean,
3 in a row is where it starts to be.
oh, I mean, he did lose to Christian Rodriguez too.
That's
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay. So he is okay. 3-0. Okay, maybe he should be a little worried, but gosh, he didn't leave me much hope after that last performance because he got. We see this sometimes with, especially with the lower weights. You have people who are able to big brother their opponent. And Peyton Talbot was able to do that to Cameron Simon. Like, just make it look easy, make it look like you have no answers. Like, I'm just gonna whoop you and belt to ass type thing.
Right.
Malcolm Wellmaker, if I compared this guy to Josh Finn, I tell you what he's able to do, and that's big brother people. So if he comes in here and puts Cameron on the back foot and gets him, worrying about the feints, and he's getting them, his hands moving a little bit, Malcolm Wellmaker should get this one done. At even odds, I really kind of like this one. Now I'm on the lookout.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the big thing that sticks out to me is that Simon is a guy who has shown himself to be beatable. And it's like, look, I mean, granted, it's like everybody has some element of that, perhaps, unless you're Habib or Ilya or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there are a couple of guys that you could name that, like,
until you lose.
Right, exactly. The guys that are untouchable until they aren't. But like, Simon has shown that there are cracks in the game when it comes to his conducting himself in the cage. And the other thing about Simon that I remember is that he really had a problem with fouls. Like, at least in one of his wins in the UFC, like, he was fouling left and right. So like, maybe he's reined that in a little bit now, but like, you have this dynamic where it's either like you can be in a situation where you're on the back foot and getting, pressured around and big brothered, like you had said, Chase, or you can have a situation where you're in the driver's seat and everything's going great, but you're also fouling yourself into oblivion, possibly risking point deductions. Because I think he actually did get a point deduction in one of his fights. So
the only thing that I remember when you say that, what springs to mind is in the Peyton Talbot fight. I'm pretty sure he kicked him in the dick, and Peyton, or maybe it was an eye poke, and Peyton was like, he's always doing this shit. Like he kind of like audibly said that, kind of something like that along the lines.
well, it
And
is
made me
true.
think,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
absolutely. Yeah. So, right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a situation where like he kind of is a sort of like borderline dirty fighter. So I think with all of that being said, Wellmaker, it's hard to say this year specifically because it has been such a bad year for undefeated fighters. The meta is really, really strong this year for, undefeated fighters losing their zeros. But that being said, in this fight, I mean, Wellmaker did come out, smoke his last opponent. Simon is smokeable. I think that as a pick'em, I'd go with Wellmaker on this one.
Yeah, I think in my mind, I'm envisioning a pretty good parlay here with Wellmaker being the last leg.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go.
At least for the prelims, of course, guys.
Sure.
We'll have some other ones.
Yeah, right on. All right. So moving on down the line, Damon Blackshear versus Alan Tengele. Blackshear is 16.
Say that again.
Alan Tengele.
That's a really funny pronunciation. I know it's like probably accurate, but like just how many L's are in it, or like Alatengale. It sounds really pretty.
I mean, it's
his bro's name. My bad, man.
What am I supposed to do, right?
I don't know. It was just it was a nice ring to it.
It does have a bounce to it, though. It's got a rhythm.
I mean,
Alan
when you look at it, it's like, oh, that's a mouthful. But when you say it like that, I mean, oh, that's a pretty easy name. It's kind of, it's a little, So
that's
anyway.
it's one of those things you have to go back to like grade school and like sound it out. Alan Tengele. Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so
anyway.
Yeah,
Blackshear is 16-7, 3-2 in his last 5. His losses are to Montel Jackson and Mario Bautista. Wins over the homie Cody Gibson, breaking my heart on that one. Cody Stamen and Jose Johnson, Mr. Tall for Nothing. And Alan Tengele is 17-9-2, 3-1-1 in his last 5. Went to a draw with Gustavo Lopez in 2021. Lost to Chris Gutierrez, wins over Clayton Rodriguez, Chad and Helliger, and Kevin Kroom, the Sancho, who was shacking up with Tim Elliott's old lady.
there's a lot of different circumstances and a lot of different people who have to have different paths or at least different reasons to make me want to be a fan. So Damon Blackshear is the perfect example of somebody who I'm not going to believe it until I see you do it against somebody that I believe in. So when it comes to Cody Gibson and Damon Blackshear in their matchup, yeah, I was a little hopeful that Cody was going to get this done in hindsight. But when I look at Cody Gibson as a grappler, I think he's one of the better ones that I've witnessed personally, especially
Absolutely.
in his more recent UFC run. Like he's been cooking with the grappling.
Yep.
So when people come into the matchup and they're like, Damon Blackshear's grappling is like that's what's going to win in the match, I'm a little questionable. Like I gotta see it to believe how good of a grappler is because Cody Gibson's a great grappler in my opinion. But now that I've seen it, I believe it. This dude does have the grappling that can finish any fight, most likely. We'll see what happens, later in his career. And his striking doesn't look too terrible either. What is to note coming off of the last fight is that maybe it was a slow start, or maybe he was just that measured to not do much in the first, where he was gonna, advance the position to a gassed opponent in the second. I don't know what um, to go ahead and give that performance to, especially in like the first part of it, because he was very weathered. So if he comes out uh, and he's very calculated and very slow to start, could be interesting getting late into this fight if he conserves his energy and he might be able to get another finish. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not hesitant because, like I said, I've seen him do it against somebody that I believed in, so he should have some more points in my book. But if he finishes Alatangale, I mean, that would be really cool. I know I'm asking for another finish, but like, yeah, like, come on now, get it done. That's what you're supposed to do if you're a top talent.
Well, and I mean, Blackshear is just speed running his career at this point, considering that the Cody Gibson fight was a couple of weeks ago. I mean, maybe a month or two ago at this point, less than that. So this dude is really game to keep getting back in the cage and active as hell. So I give him a lot of respect for that aspect of it. On the Alan Tengele side, he does have power in his hands. I mean, he knocked out Kevin Kroom in 47 seconds. But after that, went to 3 decisions, 2 wins and 1 loss. So, I mean, I guess he's also durable enough to take it to decision. So yeah, I think that the grappling is obviously going to be the big decider in this one, as long as he can Blackshear, that is, as long as he can keep himself from encountering too many power shots. But he can take a shot too. I mean, like Gibson was giving him the business as far as the hands went early on in that first round. So he's durable. I'm pretty high on Damon Blackshear at this point. Like I was already like a fan of him after the Twister. Obviously, he's one of the three Twister brothers, as I've started to refer to them in the UFC. 3 people who have gotten a Twister in the organization. So he's one of them. I thought that was very impressive. But like as I have watched him more, I really think that the only there was one loss where it was like he went back to back like within a week and he lost that second one. And I was like, if you just don't do that, like don't take immediate fight after fight after fight, give yourself a little bit of recovery time. Like there's some good potential in this guy. And I think he's starting to do that. Now this rhythm is a lot better. Like take a month off, give yourself a little bit of recovery time, get yourself where you need to be, come back better, or, come back ready, I guess you should say, not better, but ready, and get another win. I think it's possible for him.
I'm actually a big fan of speed running in the early process. I mean, because you're gonna have to go through. I mean, you look at people like Marab and Umar. I mean, before they get the belt, they have to have so many UFC fights. I mean Islam too at the time, I guess. But like when you look at somebody like Damon, I mean, after you come off of a victory like Cody Gibson, where you don't look like it didn't take any sweat off you, kind of deal. Yeah, you should hop back in here. If it's like when you're not fighting ranked guys, hell yeah, hop back in there. Like there's nothing that if you're that dude who's aspiring to be the ranked opponent, these guys are nothing to you, especially with a month's training after you just smoked a dude that you had full camp for, or like a little month's rest. It's like you're clearly a dude who's like gonna be always in shape kind of deal, always ready to go. Like the genetics are there for a great athlete for sure. And at the age that you have, I mean, you only got to keep using the youth that you have. So I like the speed run process for the lower for the lower level.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it's also nice to see guys who, when they're getting wins, capitalize on that momentum. I mean, how many times have we seen somebody get like a really nice win and then just fuck off into the ether for a year? It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you're doing yourself no favors. I mean, this is a cutthroat sport as far as that goes. Like, if your name is not in the conversation, like, the organization will by nature pass you over sometimes. Like, you got to keep yourself relevant. So, go out and get a good win. He obviously just got a really nice win over Cody Gibson. He's racking up some decent wins against some of these guys. I'm pretty high on Blackshear right now. I think that he's a good, like, solid, well-rounded fighter, and him being back on regular rotation, getting back in there on a regular basis, works for Kevin Holland. It can work for you too.
Hell yeah, I agree. Well, maybe not necessarily to that extent, but
yeah, I say hopefully it doesn't play out the same way that it plays out for Kevin Holland. Keep getting your wins, but but even Kevin Holland came back and got a win recently, right? So
yep.
Anyway,
and he's also booked for another fight against Vicente Luque. We can drop that on. We can be the first to drop it, guys. Clearly not, but
right.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, it's a good point, right? I mean, the more that people see your face and the more that they see you win, the better off you are in this sport. So go out and get it done, Mr. Blackshear.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then I guess just to finish it up on Alan Tengele's side, like, I mean, he's a decent dude who's like another well-rounded guy. I think this is going to be competitive. Like, I don't think that the odds are really representing this fight well enough. I do think that Alan Tengele can handle himself in the cage. Like, he's not going to get smoked, but I do still think that Blackshear takes it. That's
biggest concern is that Alatangale is a 5'5" bantamweight. So that's just what rings out to me is like, Damon Blackshear is probably going to he's going to be huge in this matchup.
True. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So
final picks.
Oh, yeah, Blackshear, definitely.
Yeah, I think Blackshear as well. By finish, actually. I think he'll probably come out here and look impressive again.
Yeah.
Now would be the time he's got his foot on the gas.
Yeah, I think if he could do it against Cody, I think that he could probably do it against Alan Tengele.
True. Fair.
All right.
Yeah, it does seem like a step down in competition, doesn't it?
To an extent, I would say so.
You get somebody who's kind of physically matched up with him, who you would say in the grappling department is like well-rounded enough to pass and does actually give him a little run for his money in the first. I mean, I know we haven't seen this matchup yet, but I feel like in hindsight, we're going to be like, why did he face lesser competition after?
Well, I mean, if they're building him up to get him to the point of being ranked, then it's like you're still in that pre-ranking pool, you know what I mean? So I guess it's kind of got to be somebody that's like around.
It's got to be somebody. I mean, that's a great way to say it. It's got to be somebody.
Yeah, I mean, like, because once you hit the rankings, then that's where the doors really start opening up to the higher level competition. Before that, you got a whole bunch of guys who are sort of just bubbling and all kind of vying for the same thing.
In the lower rankings, I mean, it does have to be somebody, but then when you get to the rankings, well, it has to be somebody there,
Well, yeah, the way that you say it is that the lower rankings, it has to be somebody, but when you're in the rankings, it has to be a somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. All right.
And we've talked about this fucking fight 7 times by now.
Well, I know you're not too happy about it, but Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. Gutierrez is 21-6-2, 3-2 in his last 5. Losses to Song Yadong, Pedro Munoz, wins over Kong Lee, Alan Tengele, and Frankie Edgar. Amazingly, I think that was Frankie Edgar's or one of his last.
No, he beat Frankie Edgar.
Wins over Frankie Edgar. Yeah.
That's
what I was saying. Yeah. No, losses were Song Yadong and Pedro Munoz. Wins over Kang Lee, Alan Tengele, and Frankie Edgar.
Yeah, he actually kneed Frankie Edgar into like retirement, like knocked him out. It was pretty bad.
So, yeah, was that his last one, or was it the Corey Sandhagen that was the last one there?
No, I've seen Chris Gutierrez live against Frankie Edgar, so it would have been that one.
Yeah.
Corey came before.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, actually, I guess it was. Anyway, maybe I'm just remembering 2 different things, but anyway, yeah. So, but Gutierrez, he does get his wins, Mr. Kicker, against Mr. John Castaneda, who is 21-7, 3-2 in his last 5. Losses to a pair of Daniels, Marcos and Santos. Daniel Marcos, Daniel Santos. Wins over Kyung Ho Kang and Muin Gaffarov and Miles Johns.
This one here, I mean, I'm just still not. I mean, they've tried to book it like 7 times, like waiting for somebody to be impressed. Like it's not the one that I'm excited for sure. Chris Gutierrez is the guy that will be unpredictable, but not in a way that you like, oh, that's X factor. He does have that in his striking. I've said it plenty of times, and this is actually probably telling for what's going to happen. Is I've compared his striking a lot to Leon Edwards. Like he does have a very technical, rangy, kick heavy, stay at distance and point my way to a striking victory kind of game plan. Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say that all he does is kick.
I mean, Leon Edwards too. I mean, I think it's a very good comp in my opinion, and I think that's a good mental comp too, because these are two dudes that can just maybe just not show up, and you have no reason why. They'll blame it on they didn't get sleep or something kind of deal. So,
Right.
Chris Gutierrez, I'm not the biggest fan of him here, but I don't think John Castaneda is anybody he's one of those dudes, and this is like a styles make matchup guy. You have kind of fight. You have the Chris Gutierrez, who's the technical striker from range, and then you have John Castaneda, who what I assume, because I don't think I've seen him fight too much. I mean, maybe once or twice, just kind of like that barroom brawler kind of dude. Like his name is the Sexy Mexi, by the way. I'd like to point that out. So yeah, I don't know, and I don't know. This one again, I'm just not too excited for because we've tried to have it 4 times and we could have just not even booked it. There's so many fights that you wonder, it's like, oh, that got canceled. Why didn't they rebook? It's like they had to have this fucking fight. This one right here, Kevin Gastelum and Joe Pyfer. It's like we gotta fucking have it, guys. We can't
like
fucking
Curtis Blades and Hamdi, right? Isn't that one?
No, not Hamdi.
Who was it?
Kunaev.
Oh, yeah, and Kunaev. Yeah. Rizvan. Another one of those. Yeah, why they're so dead set on some of these fights, I have no idea. But because it's like it would be one thing if it was like Habib and Tony, you know what I mean? Like that was a fight that everybody wanted to see. They rebooked it 5 times, didn't end up happening, but it's like there was a lot of anticipation for that. I don't think anybody has been staying up at night thinking about Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda.
Speaking of up late at night, this was me the other night. Nobody is going to have the moment that I had about Alex Chrysaikis, wondering when his next fight is going to be. Nobody has it about Chris Gutierrez. Yeah, nobody has these thoughts. I'm just saying, it's crazy.
Yeah, Chase did jump into the Discord and randomly and asked when Alex Caceres is fighting again. So
I need Bruce Leroy news, guys. Like, what's the deal?
That was the same deal as me with Amir Albazi months before the Moreno fight. So yeah, sometimes they just come in, they pop into your head. But yeah, I don't think Chris Gutierrez or John Castaneda has ever been that fighter for anybody.
True. Yep. So this one just roll on by, but I would take. You know what? I'm gonna take Castaneda. Fuck it. The line will be even. The line will be even, just like it was before. I'm sure.
I mean, I'll go with Gutierrez just because I do think that for whatever reason, his kick heavy approach does seem to like have decent effect. Like he's one of those guys that it feels like to me has perfected one thing to the point where that's all he wants to do, but he does do it well enough that it's like, okay, I guess I got to give him credit for that. It would be like if Ryan Hall actually had gotten the Uminori role on Ilya. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you're going to Uminori roll 800 times in the round, at least get it. But on Gutierrez's side, he actually does do well with his kicks. So if the guy wants to kick a whole hell of a lot and he somehow can point that to a victory, I'll take it. Fine.
Yeah, El Guapo might come out here and get a dub, but I'm not going to see it. The Sexy Mexi probably is going to get this one, in my opinion.
Well, you can fly your Mexican flag for that and put a bikini top on it or something.
That's what I will do for this one.
There you go. All right, for this one, another fight.
One.
I know
another one.
And kind of another middling affair here, but yeah, this is Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. Schnell is 16-9, 1-4 in his last 5. Yikes. 2 submission losses to Cody Durden and Brendan Royval. 2 KO losses.
2 submission losses to Cody Durden?
No, sorry. I was saying 2 submission losses, 1 to Cody Durden, 1 to Brendan Royval.
So I was like, what in the world?
No, I was saying he's got 2 submission losses, 1 to that guy, 1 to that guy. He's got 2 KO losses, 1 to Steve Erceg, 1 to Mateus Nicolau. And then his win in that 5 streak or 5 fight sample size is over Sumidarji.
Dude, this fight is talk about Jimmy Flick, dude.
Oh yeah, so yeah, right. I forgot Jimmy Flick was in this fight. Jimmy Flick is 17-8. He is 2-3 in his last 5. KO'd by Charles Johnson and Alessandro Costa. Submission wins over Cody Durden and Malcolm Gordon. Unanimous decision loss to Nate Maness.
Yeah, see, nothing, dude. I've seen Matt
Exactly.
Schnell be like, he's one of those dudes that I watched him get knocked out by Steve Erceg, and then they used that as rocket fuel for why Steve Erceg has good striking. It's like, I can't believe it. And it was a good shot in the pocket, but like, dude, we see now it's like Steve Erceg is just like middle of the road talent kind of deal. Just because you beat, go ahead.
No, well, because come on. What I would say though is that once he has been hot shotted, he's not middle of the road talent. He's high level talent in a division that is packed with the highest levels of talent in this sport. I would say.
I can live with that. I can live with that.
So
But
just
either way,
call it on that.
Matt Schnell came in here and got knocked out by Steve Erceg, who's a grappler apparently, because everybody glorifies his grappling, and then you come out here against Cody Durden, who's a wrestler, quote unquote, but he's a striker, and then you get subbed by Cody Durden. I don't know. Matt Schnell, dude, one of these guys that just can't seem to just get it through their head. It's like, just because he's a grappler, but he knocks me out. Like, you got to know that there's more facets to the game. It's not always a grappler. It's not always a wrestler. So I don't know.
I believe that this was the fight Schnell versus Durden, where Durden had the ninja choke in there, and he had to like really gator roll a couple of times to make sure that thing was locked in and stuck with it the entire time. So shout out to Cody Durden on that one. Not related to this fight at all, just something I wanted to mention because I remembered it. But as far as this fight specifically goes, Flick is a dude who he's like tough and fast twitchy. He's like kind of got one of those like sort of like jittery styles, I would say, but it doesn't necessarily lead to great outcomes when he's navigating the fight. So, I mean, they've got Schnell as the favorite here. I think that this is a lot closer than these odds are making it out to be. This is a 290 favorite for Schnell, minus 290, with Flick being a plus 235. I think that this is probably a lot going to be more competitive because both of these guys are kind of at the same level, in my opinion. Like, I think that at the one positive you can say about a fight like this is that the matchmaking is good because they are both just sort of middle of the road. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, you can go that far with it if you want to. I was going to be a little bit kinder, but yeah, I mean, it's flyweight, dude. I mean, it's the highest. I'm telling you, flyweight is the most technical division in this sport. So, like, you're gonna by nature be pushed to the bottom because of how good the rest of the guys are in the division.
I would like to note that Jimmy Flick looks like the American Arnold Allen. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. You're not wrong at all, actually. Yeah, no, definitely some similar roots. Yeah, Flick also looks like he could be Bryce Mitchell's neighbor.
Yeah, or cousin. I mean, like
that as well.
There's something about, I wanted to note it, is because there's something about fighters who don't necessarily look like they belong in the era. Like, this is a dude, when I look at him, he looks like this is a guy that would be on like UFC early on, where he's just a guy that just shows up ready to tussle kind of deal. Matt Schnell, on the other hand, at least has the physique of like a fighter kind of deal. He knows how to pose and make himself look like a fighter. Jimmy Flick, on the other hand, he looks like a trucker kind of guy. So he might come out here. I'm trying to think of a good example, like maybe not Dan Henderson. What's the other fucking guy? John, the dude who was popped. Fuck, I can't think of his name. He had a really bad hairline. God damn. Oh, fuck. Anyway, some of these guys that don't look like fighters, they know how to bring it like fighters. So I would not count out Jimmy Flick.
Yeah, he does like look like he's intentionally pushing his stomach outward in that photo. He's kind of like slouched but backwards. Like that's an odd posture that he has.
It's like the middle school cameraman. It's like, all right, now chest out, neck in, shoulders out. Like,
yeah, exactly. You got to take this dude to picture day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know.
Straight out of picture day too. I mean,
do you have a prediction on this fight?
taking Jimmy Flick now. I think I'm going to be suppressed. I'm suppressed. I think I'm going to be impressed. Matt Schnell is not somebody that you should ever put minus money on. So
I'm with that assessment, honestly. Like, I mean, as far as just winning the fight goes, I would probably tend to side with Schnell, but definitely not from a betting perspective. Hell no.
this is the type of shit that you get on ESPN, and Gianni will be like, money line, Matt Schnell right here. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
that's what you came up with. Like,
yeah, stay the fuck away from that shit. But I'll go with Flick. Why not? I'll go with it. I don't know if I'm gonna necessarily like on day of when I do my verdict, go and put him on there. But as of right now, I think that he could pull an upset off, and Schnell would be the exact guy to be able to pull an upset off over. So,
is it an upset though? Like
from a betting
on the
perspective.
books, yes, but like, dude, nobody. Oh my god, I can't believe minus 290 is just ridiculous. Like, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But he probably will win. That being said, Vegas knows all, so he probably will come out here and win.
I'm gonna stick with the dog. I like a good underdog, potential victory. So if it's possible, I mean, I like nothing sticks out in either one of their games based on the fights that I've seen of them to say that's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't really have much to go on as far as like, oh, this is what you should watch out for from this guy. They both fight somewhat similarly. They both are I mean, I'd say that like Flick is a little bit more jittery, Schnell is a little bit more composed. That's the one difference that I can recall off the top of my head. I don't think it's going to play that big of a factor in this fight, and I think that if Flick can be a little bit wiry and be moving around, not letting Schnell get shots off or get takedowns secured, then go Jimmy Flick, get this win for the brick.
I hear you. Yeah. Not the best dog on the card, but a dog that I would say maybe look out for.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right. Well, Ikram Aliskerov is back, everybody. He's going up against Andre Muniz. Aliskerov is 15-2, 4-1 in his last 5, 2-1 in the UFC, not counting the Contender Series. I didn't realize he was that new to the organization, but that is the case.
You didn't know? It was 2 fights in. He gets Robert Whitaker.
Yeah. I guess I probably knew it at the time, and then when I was doing the research, I was like, oh, but so that is Aliskerov over there. Kale wins over Warley Alves, and Phil Hawes, of course, lost to Robert Whitaker. Andre Muniz is 24-6. He is a vet for sure. 3-2 in his last 5. Knocked out by Paul Craig, subbed by Brandon Allen. Both of those, I guess you can kind of pick how you feel about that. Split decision win over Jinyun Park. That's the Iron Turtle, of course. Unanimous decision win over Uriah Hall in his retirement fight, and a sub win over Eric Anders, but that was Eric Anders when he was still in his heavy partying days.
This is an interesting fight now that I get a good look at Andre. Because when I know of Ikram, when I watch his fights, he is very explosive. He's a very creative striker for the kind of build that he has. Like, he's more, turtle, real fire hydrant looking, but he's very explosive. He's very creative with the strikes. He does know how to finish a fight when he smells blood in the water. But Andre Muniz, looking at him now at age 35, he kind of gives me like some dad vibes here. Like I could manhandle young whippersnappers kind of deal. And I'm not a dog that I'm looking at, but if he wins, I mean, it's because I got that feeling right when I saw him. I'm like, this guy knows how to put people in their place kind of deal.
Yeah, I could see that being the case possibly. Aliskerov, a huge favorite in this fight, minus 725. I mean, how much do you think that the loss to Whitaker plays into this, if at all? I mean, I would say that it probably shouldn't. I would say that Rob Whitaker knocking him out shouldn't. I mean, you get shot up that high. He himself, Aliskerov, was talking about taking that fight after the loss and said, look, I had to take the shot. I mean, you're giving me the biggest challenge that could catapult me into the next level of the sport. I'm not going to turn that down. But I think that even he acknowledged that it was a little bit too early. That being said, this is the exact type of opponent that you need to get a win over in order to climb the ladder in the normal way. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I guess it just depends on the dynamics there. But if all things are equal, as far as like, him not having any kind of cobwebs over the Whitaker loss, then Alaskarov just needs to get right back on the bike and start fucking, winning again. And
Yeah.
this should be the fight where he does that. Now, I mean,
Mhm.
he has been out for a while. If you recall, that Robert Whitaker fight was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
So, he should be well rested. He should be 100% mental game, all things 100% correct. Muniz has been a lot more active, but also 3-2 record because of it. So, I mean, this should be Alaskirov's grand return, is what I'm trying to say through all of this, as long as there's nothing precluding that.
Yeah, and I think the UFC knows that if this is a guy that is good enough to be skyrocketed to a main event in his second fight, or popular enough, I guess is the word to say, that they should take his fall from grace a little uh, carefully and give him an opponent that he can again style out on, and give everybody the reason like, oh, this is yeah, we can still root for him kind of deal.
Well, and of course, you have to also remember that the reason that Alaskarov was put into the position with Robert Whitaker that he was in was because Khamzat Chimaev was sick and had to be taken out of the main event of that fight. That was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev against Robert Whitaker, and that was also in, I believe, Saudi Arabia, I want to say. Either that or Abu Dhabi, one of those countries in that region of the world. So there was a fan base that needed to be catered to, and Alaskarov just happened to be the best option for that. So it's not even like it was his fault that, it all worked out that way. And it's not really his fault even that he got smoked by Robert Whitaker because of that. I mean, Robert Whitaker is just a different animal than he was. So, I mean, this basically, I'm just saying that like all of this should be like fresh slate. Like he's coming back. This is Kansas City. This has nothing to do with any big implications kind of thing. Like he is back in the regular pool. He's had a lot of time off. This should be his time to just regain the momentum that he once had.
I agree. Yeah, I'll probably take Ikram, but I probably wouldn't put money on the -725 tag.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're very confident about method, but based on what I had kind of laid out, the losses for Muniz are sort of all over the place. Like I mean, these just ones here, he's been knocked out and submitted. So I mean, like, and then if you go back into some of the earlier ones, he's been, I guess he has been knocked out a couple of times. So I mean, I thought it were my mistake. I thought they were a little bit more scattered than that, but he has been knocked out a couple of times. So if you are confident in the power of Ikram Alaskarov, then perhaps taking method might be a decent way to sweeten the pot. But I'd be I'm always extremely cautious about taking method. That's more Chase's territory. He's a little bit more of a wild man when it comes to the betting.
Gotta set your nuts on the table sometimes,
Brother. I respect you highly for it, and I mourn the loss of all of the money that you have sunk because of it. But
hell yeah,
respect is there. So anyway, but yeah, if you're wanting to throw down, I mean, I like Alaskarov. Basically, to me, the way that I bet, he would be like the parlay sweetener. Like a -725 that I'm pretty confident about. Like I'd scatter him in on a couple of parlays as like the dude to just add a little bit extra value.
Yeah, hear that.
All right, this fight a lot closer than I think people are giving it credit for. This is Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. Randy Brown is 19-6, 3-2 in his last 5. Wins over Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos and Wellington Turman. KO'd Muslim Salikov. Got a nice knockout there. Subbed by Jack Della Maddalena. Split decision loss to Brian Battle. Nicholas Dalby is 23-5-1, and I did not do the rest for him for some reason. But he's 4-1 in his last fight. Split decision loss to Renat Fakhretdinov in his last fight. So coming off of a loss, but wins all before that in his last 5.
Never been finished.
And knocked out one of the Bonfim brothers, that's a pretty decent little notch in your cap there.
Yeah, I would like to note that the loss to Fakhretdinov is not warranted because we've seen him rob multiple opponents on home turf, and Nicholas Dalby is one of those fights where you watch and you can't conclusively say that Reinhardt beat him. In my opinion, it was close enough that you could argue the scoring was swayed for Mr. Reinhardt Fakhretdinov. That being said, Nicholas Dalby, the reason that fight was so close is because he is the type of dude that will fucking bring it. He does whatever he can to try to win. That being said, it's a lot of striking, yes, but on the feet, he has a lot of answers for different styles on the feet. Renat Fakhretdinov is one of those dudes that will fucking slug with you, and he throws a lot of BS, and he somehow manages to land a lot of BS. Randy Brown's a little more technical. Nicholas Dalby will be able to be the one that's a little more chaotic and untethered in this matchup. I think he's going to be the one to go ahead and take this one. Randy Brown being 34, I mean, he's not the youngest guy ever, so Nicholas Dalby being 40, I don't really think it's too much of a thing to take into consideration, because if you've seen how Nicholas Dalby has been performing at age 40, you should have no fucking questions.
No, I agree completely. I mean, Dalby is one of those dudes that defies his age really well. He moves very nicely. He does breathe in a very specific way. Actually, if you go back on the Yama channel, there is a stream clip of me and Vitz King kind of poking fun at the way that he breathes, because he has this very specific breathing method that he does. I don't know if it's intentional or if it's kind of just a natural thing that happens with him. But either way, it seems to be working, because his cardio is really good, especially for a 40-year-old man. Shit, I mean, you know, I can barely, I can barely walk a straight line for long distances at a time myself. So he's definitely holding up for his age, and he is a tough dude. Really. Like squirrely in the cage, I would say. I mean, like, he's definitely, like, as you said,
He's a wild card.
Exactly. He's a wild card for sure. I think that this is a great matchup for that reason. As you also mentioned, Randy Brown being a little bit more technical and also so much taller. Randy Brown has super long legs, and he utilizes them very well. I've always been a big fan of Randy Brown with the way that he is able to manage distance and get fights to, like, basically he sort of forces fighters to fight his fight a lot of the time. That was the big note in the Brian Battle fight, was that Battle was able to figure that out and not do that. So it's like, if Dalby can figure out the way to get himself into a position that is not going to be having to answer to everything that Randy Brown is doing, that's going to be really good. I would say that if Dalby comes out in this fight early, I say this a lot, but if he comes out early with intention early and is able to kind of muscle Brown around a little bit, gain a little bit of dominance early in this fight, then he does have a great shot at winning this one. And Brown just needs to fight his fight the way that he wants it to happen, and force Dalby to do that. So it's going to be a matter of who can get the fight that they want first.
Yeah, Randy Brown, I've seen him come into fights, and he has this demeanor of somebody who doesn't necessarily care as much as the next guy. And maybe I'm wrong to make that judgment based off of his body language and just the way he carries himself. But Nicholas Dalby, on the other hand, if you keep up with this dude's Facebook page, he is fucking locked and loaded. I'm telling you, this dude he's about the fight game. It's not a check for him. He's ready to just get in the cage and fight. Like,
he's like a mini Yuri in that way.
Exactly. He is kind of crazy about it. I do respect it, though. Like, he's a little more low key about it, and he is getting up there in age. He's going to be one of these guys that falls off, and not many people remember him, but the people that do, and you remember things like that about him, that's the type of things that builds confidence in my picks for a dog. Like, Nicholas Dalby is a dude that just don't give a shit. I'm ready to go in there and fucking fight. Like, and I know that's on the other end. I know I made that comment about Randy Brown. He does also have that same kind of, I don't give a shit, put the person in front of me, I'm ready to fight kind of mentality. But I think there's different levels to it. They express it differently.
Yeah, I mean, Brown is Jamaican. He's kind of got a little Irie going on. I mean, I maybe that's what that is. But no, but you are definitely right about Dalby. And you say people won't remember him, but I guarantee you, I know some people who will remember him, and that is the people of Denmark. Shout out to Denmark, and shout out to our homie Bloomis.
Hell yeah, Bloomis is the fucking man.
He is watching this fight with high intention here, representing the homeland. So hopefully he can get the job done. I think he's probably the best dog on this card.
Yeah. Yep.
So I final predictions. Then you're going with Dalby.
I'm going with Dalby by finish for sure.
Yeah. This is very, very, very tough for me because, like I said, I think that it's really just a matter of what method the fight goes. Like if one guy gets his way, then it'll go his way. If the other guy gets his, it'll go his way. So I'm tentatively going to stick with my guns here and stay with Randy Brown. But like I said, I do think that Dalby is the best dog on the card, and I'll probably have a parlay with him on it.
I think a lot of people are going to look at the records too, especially of Nicholas Dalby, and be like, oh, well, he goes to decision like a lot. Like, definitely go Nicholas Dalby by decision. But if this is somebody that you have to just be watching the sport to know that this dude does not fight like a dude who goes to decision. He fights like a finish or be finished kind of guy. Randy Brown has his moments too. So I'm really thinking this is going to be a finish right here. I'm really hoping Nicholas Dalby gets this one done.
Man, you know, you're making a great case right now, Chase. You're swaying me over here, because I'm like, you're right. It's like Dalby is one of those dudes that's just under the radar, low key a beast, and
Mhm.
like he does not get nearly enough credit for it. I mean, like the fucking record shows it. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like a loss to Fakradinov that was really, really close, and then 4 wins before it. Like, how are you doubting this guy? I mean, I think that you're right. There are a lot of factors that people will look at. Oh, it's the age, it's the decisions, it's like, maybe even that he's from Denmark, it's an underrepresented country in the sport, yada fucking yada. But when he's actually in there, this dude really is the real deal. Fuck it, I'm changing my pick. We're both going Dalby.
Let's do it. I agree. This is going to be a really good one. I'm really
God.
fucking hoping for my guy here.
And I don't know if I just talked myself into something really dumb, but blame it on Chase Parton. Everybody who's in the chat right now, come back next week and give Chase shit for it because he convinced me.
I am the man of Denmark, so I will be representing Dalby. And if you guys have anything to say, trust me, I'll back it up all week.
You're a human version of Discord right now, swaying my opinions. All right, let's move
This
on
one, I
here.
think I'll sway your opinion too.
Well, this one's a little bit different because you did mention that you changed your pick because we've done our mini predictions last Monday, and then now some choices have switched here for you. So we'll get into it. It's Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. Pereira is 31-12. Good fucking Lord, that record. He is 31-12. He is 4-1 in his last 5. Sub wins over Ihor Potieria and Mikhailo Lashaychuk. Knockout win over Andre Petrosky. Split decision win over Santiago Ponzinibbio. How the hell that happened? It's anybody's guess. But his lone loss in the last 5 was to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Abus Magomedov is 27-6-1. He is 3-2 in his last 5. Knocked out Dustin Stoltzfus, got knocked out by Sean Strickland. Unanimous decision loss to Caio Bahayo. Unanimous decision win over Warley Alves, and a sub win over Bruno Ferreira. So a lot of variety in the wins and losses for Magomedov.
Yeah, I mean, it just stands to say that Abus can do a couple different things a couple different ways. He can lose a couple different ways too. So that should probably tell you he's not the best. He's not the worst. He can do some stuff. He can also get caught by the same stuff that he can do. Maybe that's more on his defensive end than anything. And people have often talked about, the loss to Sean Strickland. And I actually think he redeemed himself after that one, since he came back and he got a sub win against Bruno Ferreira, which is a knockout like god. I know he just came off of a sub win, but like up until the Abus submission, like he had like 9 knockouts like in the UFC or something like that. I could be wrong. That's probably inflated. But what I want to say is that originally I thought Michel's going to come out here round 1 finish because he's not a decision guy, which I will note. I didn't know he's been a decision and won a lot of different times. Quote unquote. I didn't know that. So Michel, if he doesn't come out here and win in round 1, in my opinion, then it's over for him. Because I think round 2 and 3, Abus is going to do exactly what Fluffy did. It's not going to be the ground and pound version. It's the grappling is going to be very similar, where he's hunting chokes, he's switching around, he's rolling with the position, he's keeping Michel gassed on the ground. Because that's really the underlying hole in Michel Pereira's game, excuse me. He gasses out, and we used to hear that all the time, like, oh, he gasses out, his gassing is the biggest concern, and then people would be like, well, that was at a different weight, now he's at something that's a little more consistent for him. But he gassed out in round 1 against Fluffy. I mean, I know Fluffy is somebody that you can't really take the loss into consideration right now until it ages, kind of deal. But Abus, I think the grappling, I think the game I think the skill set that Abus has and the game plan that I've seen him implement against other fighters is perfect to win against Michelle in a 3-round fight and win by decision. Don't think he's going to sub Michelle. I think he'll go for a lot of subs and he'll rack up a lot of control time that'll basically be the deciding factor, but I don't think he'll actually get the submission.
Yeah, I don't think that he's getting the submission necessarily. I'm just concerned that Pereira is going to be able to do what he wants to do in that first round. Because I mean, granted, Abus it's not like he's been knocked out a ton of times, but he has been. And I think that if there's ever a dude who is going to throw the kitchen sink at anybody in the first round, it is Pereira. So that's my concern there. I agree with you that if it goes later on in the fight, then yeah, Abus is definitely going to win. Like if this makes it to round 3, then there's no way in hell that Abus is not winning, in my opinion. But if it's a situation where Pereira is getting his way early, and we talk about fast starters in this sport, that's something I always harp on, was just harping on it earlier in this very stream. Michel Pereira is a person who instantly comes to mind as one who definitely does that. Like this is a guy who's shot out of a cannon straight from the start of the fight. So if he's able to overwhelm him early, I think that Pereira can probably do it, because I mean, like you want to talk about a dude who will lay on the strikes heavy. I mean, like I think about those because like he has submission wins over Ihor and Olashechuk, but if you recall, what set up the submission of Olashechuk was some crazy body shots. I mean, this dude was pounding the midsection. So like if that's the type of performance he's able to get off early in this fight, then I would go with Pereira. If this goes anywhere past the start of round 2, then yeah, I would say that Magomedov is probably going to take it. So I mean, based on all of that, another kind of coin flip for me, because who knows if he's going to be able to do it or not, and if it's going to go. But I'd say that you make a good point that there's more opportunity in a 3-round fight based on the time that is elapsing in it, that Magomedov, if he can survive the onslaught, he'll have more time to work. So I see it from that perspective.
Yeah, I think the first round will be pretty close. Michelle will start out hot as hell, run out, get a quick, convincing moment that'll give him the first round up until about the end of it. Abus will finally get the takedown, rack up control time, and then the first round people will be like, oh, well, Michelle did the damage, but Abus did the grappling kind of deal. Second round, Michelle gets taken down almost instantly. Abus just lays on top of him for the rest of the round. I think that's, I mean, and then round 3, of course, too, is just him hunting chokes the entire time kind of deal.
Yeah. I think that that's a very likely roadmap to how this is going to go. The other version of it is Pereira comes out with all guns blazing. Yeah, exactly. Just overwhelms him early, is able to get the shots off that he wants, knocks him down and either submits him or knocks him out. So based on that, I mean, pick your poison is what I would say at the end of that. So it's like, if you go with Chase's version of events, take Abus. If you go with my version of events, take Michelle. But it's kind of a choose your own adventure, as to only time will tell what the actual outcome is going to be. So
there's still this stigma on Abus Magomedov that he's not a good fighter, that he's, he just gets a bad rep. Obviously, he's coming out here repping Germany, so probably not the best move for people to be rooting for him off rip type of deal. But if you actually look at this dude, coming off of the loss to Sean Strickland, which that's a top dude in the division preceding that win, still is at the time. But then you look at the fights that he's taking after. Bruno Ferreira, I already talked about, knockout artist. That's a scary opponent. He didn't come out here and take an easy road. Abus came out here and took the dude that he knows could finish him again, just like Sean Strickland did. He took a more threatening opponent. Now he's coming out against Michelle. Yeah, Michelle had a bad matchup against Fluffy, but as well as I do that this dude is deadly. So if you can't enjoy Abus, or if you can't get over that he lost to Sean Strickland by TKO, I mean, you have to respect this dude's wanting to take matchups that he finds threatening and he knows that he can win.
Well, and I mean, really, I think that the thing that should turn people's minds around with that is that he went to decision. He did lose the fight, but he went to decision with Kaio, who is now becoming a boogeyman. I mean, people are turning down fights with Kaio Bahio now.
Mhm.
Kaio is one of those dudes that people are saying could be the first fighting nerd to hold the belt. So, I mean, I've never really, we've talked about this on the show before, this like odd stigma around Abus Magomedov. And it's never really like, I don't know. I've never really understood it. Like, granted, I don't personally feel that he's like a top level talent, but like, I don't think that he's a bad fighter. I've never like been like that guy sucks. Fuck him,
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I hear that.
yeah, I don't know if people are just sometimes in this sport, there's just a narrative that like forms around people and like the internet just runs with it. So that could possibly be what happened to him. Use that to your advantage, people out there. If you're a betting person, if you hear a whole bunch of dumb shit talking and you listen to this show, you get the real dope. You get a little bit inside knowledge that maybe the rest of the internet's not telling you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm one of the people that have actually been a big believer in Abus, so it's really nice to see that he's coming together in the way that I figured he should. And maybe he's not going to be a guy that's feared throughout the division, but I think he's somebody that, already the names that he's racking up, even the losses, those are people that are at the top of the division. You could see him slowly make his way, not to the top necessarily, but that 7 to 15 range, like he could be there. Like,
I would say that that's pretty. Yeah, that's definitely safe for
yeah,
sure.
little
So
journeyman action.
yeah, exactly. Like one of those high mid-level guys.
Yeah.
I guess you're going with a boost. I'll still go with Michelle, but again, it's pick your narrative on that one. Like, and I will be the first person, like if it goes exactly how Chase says it's gonna go, then I'll be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, moving on down the line. Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. You might recall from earlier in this very stream, we were talking about Onama versus Romero. So that was that banger fight that I had mentioned. Chikadze is 15-4, 3-2 in his last 5. Knocked out Cub Swanson and Edson Barbosa. A pair of legends got knocked out by Giga Chikadze. Unanimous decision win over Alex Caceres, as you had mentioned also. Unanimous decision losses to Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen. David Onama is 13-2, 4-1 in his last 5. Submission win over Garrett Armfield. Knocked out Gabriel Santos. Unanimous decision wins over Jonathan Pierce and Roberto Romero. Majority decision loss to Nate the Train Landwehr.
What I think is most crucial to note for me when I'm making my pick on this is that I vividly remember Giga actually performing very, very well against Arnold Allen. So well that when I had money on Arnold Allen, I thought, well, I definitely lost money by the time the judges came around. I thought Giga probably won 2 of those rounds. Now, going into this fight, from what I remember Giga fighting like, he's very rangy, very good kicks, obviously able to win the fight, at least close enough that I believe it was possible. So I think I'm going with Giga. I mean, David Onama is not somebody that I'm just like super stoked to see, but I do remember Giga and the last performance of him, it was very convincing winning performance. Let me say that.
You're absolutely correct about the fight with Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen was doing a lot of running in that fight. That he was, and this is coming from me. I mean, you know how I am. I'm like, oh, well, he was evading. He's fighting a smart fight. Like Arnold Allen in that fight, I feel like he was evading a little bit too strongly, in my opinion. I was a little surprised by that decision as well. But to say that like you're not hot on seeing David Onama fight again, that's crazy to me based on that last fight. I mean, him versus Romero was a fucking great fight. I think that this is a pretty explosive guy. He's coming from Uganda, another underrepresented country in the sport. But excuse me. But we have seen a lot of African fighters that are starting to change the perception of African nations in this sport. And I think that he's one of them. And I think my issue with this fight, because you touched on Giga's kicking ability and the rangy attacks, that is going, it's always going to be Giga's bread and butter to do that. But that I think is also going to be the linchpin of this fight to tell us how it's going to go. Because if Onama is able to move with those strikes, if he's able to anticipate the kicks and not be affected by them, if he's able to slip them, if he's able to, to get in there close range and close the distance, then I think that Onama has a good shot of making this his fight. If Giga gets his way with the kicks and like Onama is just a little bit still too new to the sport to know, I mean, he's 13-2, so this shouldn't be the case. But if the kicks are a style of fighting that he has not encountered as much, then there is potential for those to be the decision maker and for Giga to stay on the outside, land the side kick, and the Giga kick, as they call it, could come back in a real way. So that would be my way of looking at this whole thing. Like, I'm going for Onama in this fight because I just think he's a super tough guy, and I think he's tougher than Giga. But it really is on Giga to make sure that if you are going to name a kick after yourself, you better goddamn well make sure that thing lands.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're right. I think Onama, I think, again, styles and matchups, Onama is not, when I look at the technicality aspect, I remember Giga being super technical, on the nose with every strike. He's not going to overextend. He's not going to overplace. Onama might be just that factor that can just be a ball of fury that just finishes it,
Yeah, I do. And I mean, Giga was, so my thing with Giga also is that this is pre-Yama even, just when I was just watching as a fan before the channel, I was very high on Giga Chikadze. I used to say, in Giga we trust. That was something you'd hear me say very often. And Giga had since let me down very heavily. Because I like, there was a time where I really did think that Giga was going to kick his way to a championship. I thought that he was going to be the dude who was going to be able to have, like, there was just something about the way that he was able to enact the striking that, like, really, it just stuck out to me. I was like, this could be like the dude. And so that drop off, I think, was very very dramatic. And I think that has shaped a lot of my vision here, because I mean, you got to remember, KOs over Cub Swanson and Edson Barbosa. That's two of like my favorites from that era of the sport. You know how I feel about Cub. Huge fan of Cub Swanson. He's one of my favorite fighters. So, I mean, so it's like, I think that I over time my viewing of Chikadze has evolved, and I think that Onama is kind of one of these dudes that's on a sneaky little come up. And after a fight like he was in with Romero, like I was really, really impressed with that fight. I'm gonna make the tough choice to go with Onama on this one.
I mean, he is the favorite. Like I said earlier, Vegas knows all. So maybe there is something here that is the deal breaker. But Giga should point his way to decision, in my opinion.
Could be. And I mean, it is a close line. It's not super far. It's a plus 150 for Giga and a minus 180 for Onama. So I mean, that's, we're not talking about crazy betflation on this one. Like, this would be one of those ones where, like, when I come back, I'll probably kick myself. Like, damn, Giga obviously had that, but like, if as of right now, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. I really like the way that Onama fought in that last fight. So.
This would be a good one to see. I think I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite fights on this card. Actually, this is the one that I think last week I was like, I'm really excited about this one. So.
Yeah, I hear that.
Well, if you were excited about that last fight, how about the co-main event? Anthony Smith versus Zhang Minyang. Chase already shaking his head. Anthony Smith is 38-21. Good Lord, my man. What a career this guy has had. This is, of course, going to be his retirement fight. He is 2-3 in his last 5. Knocked out by Dominic Reyes and Khalil Roundtree. Unanimous decision loss to Roman Dolidze. Split decision win over Ryan Spann. And he submitted Vitor Petrino. Zhang Minyang is 18-6, 5-0 in his last 5, all first-round knockouts, 2-0 in the UFC, of course, both of those being knockouts. His wins in the UFC are over Brenton Ribeiro and Ozzy Diaz. He beat Tuco Tokos on Road to UFC.
That guy.
I know.
So Anthony Smith, if you want my personal opinion, you said he's 3-2 in his last 5. He should be full
2-3.
2-3 in his, he should be 1-4 because the fight against Ryan Spann, they probably didn't care too much to have a trilogy fight on that, is why they didn't give it to Ryan Spann. But Ryan Spann definitely beat Anthony Smith, down. Like, I mean, he was in his patented position on the ground, hands above his head, tornado style, like when you're in school, the tornado drill.
Sure.
That's what Anthony Smith was doing in that fight. But this one right here, I have no hope for Anthony Smith. I don't know. I feel like maybe even last fight, because I don't think I saw the sub coming, but maybe it was last fight. I was sitting here thinking like, maybe last fight was the sub. Am I wrong? No, last fight was
Dominic Reyes knocked him out.
Oh fuck. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Maybe I had a little hope for him, but no, it's all gone. Zhang Minyang, the Mountain Tiger. I'm ready. I like this dude.
I mean, Zhang Minyang is like, he was the standout when it came to UFC Macau last year. I mean, this dude was so beastly in that fight, just ran through Ozzy Diaz basically. He is really, like, I think a killer. I mean, like, this dude at light heavyweight, he's a problem. I really think that he's like one of these next up guys at light heavyweight, especially considering that division needs a little bit of an infusion, I would say, of some new talent. Like, he could definitely be that. The only notes I would say on his side is that he is new to the organization. He's only had the 2 fights. Brenson Ribeiro and Ozzy Diaz are not necessarily great yardsticks as far as competition goes, but it is light heavyweight, so there aren't, like, unless you're getting up until like the higher echelons of the division, you're going to kind of be with that sort of level of fighter for a while as you start out. So I would say that this is a big jump in competition, definitely as far as experience goes. I mean, Anthony Smith, 38-21, the dude has definitely seen it all when it comes to the fight game. That being said, Smith, he probably should have retired after the last fight. Like, there's really no reason for him to be continuing on. Like, I'm very glad that he has made a definitive statement that this is his retirement fight, but it's just not necessary. And the only thing I can think of is possibly Smith might be able to get him down. Like, if he goes in and just bum rushes him, he might be able to do what he did to Vitor Petrino, perhaps. Like, that's not out of the question. But this is there's 3 rounds of this shit. And Smith, like, I think another thing with Smith, I was going to say that, like, he was so defeated going into the Dominic Reyes fight. Of course, he had some personal issues outside of the cage that were weighing very heavily on him. I don't know how much that's going to factor into this fight. I would hope that he's cleared the cobwebs if he knew that he was taking this fight. Like, hopefully he's going to come in like with a good amount of confidence, want to go out, on top, go out with a victory. And always I've been a person who has not felt the same way that other people feel about Anthony Smith. I don't find him as annoying as other people do. I don't even dislike his fights, even when they're slightly clunky and dumb. So I guess I got a lot of empathy for Anthony Smith is what I'm trying to say. And I would like to see him win this fight, but Zhang Minyang is just, he's next up. He's a different level of animal. And if he doesn't go down to the ground, then it's just going to be a really bad time for Smith.
Yep, I agree. 100%. I think Zhang is going to get this one done. If all of them have been first round knockouts, I mean, hell, I'll take it first round.
But do you not think that he can get taken down, though?
No, it did cross my mind when we were talking about it literally just now. Like, maybe Anthony Smith might be able to implement the wrestling. Because Zhang Minyang, I mean, we're yet to see when it comes to top talent. I mean, if you're going to be a killer on the feet, you're going to have some wrestling to back it up, or at least some good takedown defense, whatever you want to say. Anthony Smith might be able to get a hold of him. If he gets him down, I mean, we're just going to start back on the feet at round 2. So I don't know.
It's a good point. Exactly. Like I said, 3 whole rounds of this. So, yeah, I think it's very hard to make a case for Anthony Smith aside from him possibly getting a takedown and getting his back. But I'm really hoping that he does approach the fight that way. And I know that that's, not what people would want to see. They're wanting to see Zhang Minyang come out and knock him out in the first round. That is what, the conventional wisdom says should happen. But I would like to see it just to see Zhang Minyang get tested, because if he's going to be this guy that's coming up in this division, slightly more well-rounded than heavyweight, I would say, but still, obviously it's like one of those situations where it's power plus technicality at light heavyweight, or at least it should be more so. He's going to have to deal with the likes of our current champion.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just going to be one of those situations where we're going to have to see what actually happens. But Zhang Minyang, he seems like the real deal to me.
Yep, I agree with you 100%.
All right. And closing this thing out, our main event of the evening, Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates, the fighting nerd. Ian Garry is 15-1, 4-1 in his last 5. A unanimous decision loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Unanimous decision wins over Michael Venom Page and Neil Magny. Split decision win over Jeff Neal. And he knocked out Daniel Rodriguez. Carlos Prates is 21-6, 5-0 in his last 5, all knockouts. Wins over Neil Magny, Li Jin Liang, the Leech, Charles Radke, Blood Brother Pride, Trevin Giles, and Mitch Ramirez.
Yeah, I think my opinion still stands on this one. And I actually had a tweet that I read that kind of swayed my opinion, maybe just a moment, where it said, this will be the last time you'll get plus money on Carlos Prates. And I thought to myself, okay, that's a pretty convincing argument of why I would want to put some money down on him. But I think Ian Garry, we oftentimes talk about how he's a striker, and then how he's more implementing his grappling these days. But at the end of the day, what he is a well-rounded, great skill set in the division. He has the ability to make every fight comfortable in his advantage and take it away from his opponent. So when it comes to Michael Venom Page, you want to talk about strikers and people who have power. I mean, this is a guy who broke someone's skull, and that's all I wanted to hear up until the fight with Ian Garry. Everybody couldn't stop talking about how, MVP is going to make light work of this dude. And what did Ian Garry do? He made it a fight where he could thrive without putting himself in too much danger. You want to go back to the Shavkat Rakhmonov matchup too. It's like, it wasn't necessarily a convincing loss. Ian Garry didn't necessarily lose, in my opinion. The judges said so, but he went up against the most feared dude in the division and took him 5 rounds. Same thing here. Ian Garry, big old nut sacks, big old britches that he's got to put on in the morning because he got to get over those big old testicles. He wants to fight the fucking boogeyman, and I fucking respect it.
Yeah, no, I everything that you said is 100% true.
Even the testicle part?
I factually verified. Absolutely. Yes. He wears one size up in his pants because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Ian Garry he is a mixed martial artist. And that, all of these guys are MMA fighters. He is a mixed martial artist. He is a dude who literally has a well-rounded skill set that is constantly being improved upon. He takes fighting extremely seriously. All of his bullshit outside of the cage is just that. It's a bunch of bullshit. And whether or not you factor it in the comedy sense or whatever, that's up to you. But when it comes to fighting, this dude is really about his game. He is a student of the game. He is a game planner. He's one of those dudes you talked about the MVP fight. That's exactly what that was. A good, solid game plan. He's got a good team behind him. All of that being said, Carlos Prates is a killer. I mean, the dude, my thing. Who was it? Oh, it was a shout out to the homie John Dong. It was not this fight specifically, but it was I was talking about his fellow fighting nerd. He was talking about John Silva when he said, based on these performances, what is the method? What's the method of victory against these guys? And I think that Carlos Prates fits that mold too, because if Ian Garry wants to try to play the same game that he played with Michael Venom Page, no way in fucking hell that's going to work. There's no way. I mean, Carlos Prates is so nice in the clinch. It's going to be a knee fest all day long, and knees that are deadly, knees that can put you out in the clinch if that's where he wants to go. So, okay. So if it's not going to be that, if he's going to stay at range, Carlos Prates can play that game too. And if Ian Garry thinks that he's going to go out there and put on one of his point fighting performances like he often does, I just don't see it against Carlos Prates. I think Carlos Prates is not going to be one of these guys that's going to let him, land a kick and then circle out, and then we're on to the next thing. Carlos Prates is going to say, no, I'm going in there and I'm going to hit you.
I think the only thing that rings the bell to me when I think of the performance and I'm thinking of the pros and cons here. A con for Carlos Prates, and you have to go back to his first UFC fight to get this, and that should tell you how good he is. So when I was rewatching the fights, I was showing my dad Carlos Prates because this is a dude you got to sit down and show the whole family about. Like, this is the nightmare.
Absolutely.
His first fight against Trevin Giles, maybe it was stage fright, maybe first fight jitters, but he was very, very slow, very passive, didn't want to expel too much in the first round because I believe it actually happened in the second round. I think the knockout happened in the second for Trevin Giles. But at the time, I was thinking, like, gosh, I don't remember him looking not good in the first. Like, this was the first moment that I was like, wow, Carlos Prates doesn't look, deadly on the feet. And that
Sure.
was the first round of his first fight in the UFC. And he's literally looked exceptional ever since. But in that moment, I thought he looked really passive for some reason. And he didn't use all of his skills in the first round like he normally does or has since. If Ian Garry is able to capitalize on the first round and assert his dominance, this is a key factor here. Maybe he's able to establish the leg kicks, and I don't know. I'm worried about this one, I think.
Well, see, that's the thing though, is that I don't think that for as much of praise as I can heap on Ian Garry in like how he conducts himself in the cage, I don't think that he's an assert his dominance type of guy. And I think that actually showed in the Shavkat fight. I
He
actually
tried to
showed
choke that dude's head off, dude. I don't
that
know.
was later that was later though. I
That
mean,
was
like,
late in the fight. He was showing, dude, I don't know.
I don't
Late in
think
the
so,
fight,
man. I
he
don't.
did Shavkat's
Okay,
back and
all
he
right,
almost
fine.
popped his head off. That was
Okay,
pretty aura right there.
fair. Okay, so better example than the Jeff Neal fight. There was no dominance asserted in that fight. That was a clinch fest. You
Yeah,
know,
I've talked about Jeff Neal plenty of times though, and I think he's often the cause of boring fights if there is one that he's in. In that one, he was bouncing around like a fucking bunny, right? I know Easter just came by, but Jeff Neal was definitely hopping around like whatever the fucking Cottontail's name is. So I think that was more on his part. But this one, I think this is the perfect fight that Ian Garry can initiate, his skill set on the feet. Like this will be the fight that we're like, oh shit, Ian Garry is elite on the feet. Like, did we forget because he's grappled his last two matchups, kind of deal.
well, I mean, so then how does it play out in asserting the dominance early? Does he come out into marches to the center of the cage and then just starts going for the high kick?
No, he doesn't go for the high kick. No, he chops the low kicks early, like he did Neil Magny. And then once Carlos Prates realizes that he can't stand there and do his little tie, move because he's just getting chopped in the fucking legs. I think we're going to see some stance switching come out of Carlos, and then the power hand is not going to be close enough to land for Ian Garry. Again, when it comes to rangy fighters that know how to use kicks effectively, Ian Garry, we may forget, again, he grappled his last two matchups, but he is one of the best at it. When it comes to stand up, I've said it, I've stood on it. Ian Garry is elite when it comes to standing and trading. And I think it's just going to be the moment he chops the legs early. Carlos Prates has to switch stances, and then that shot is just going to whiff by just a little bit out of range, and Ian Garry's just popping him on the outside. I don't know. That's me.
All right. I mean, it very well could be that. It's not out of the question for sure. I think that my version of events goes that Carlos Prates marches out to the center there. Garry probably does start trying yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he might try to start chopping the legs as you said, but if he can get like if Prates marches through that and is able to eat some of those kicks or check him perhaps, but I mean, like, it seems to me like he'll just be like, I'll withstand the pain to get Garry where I want him to be. And if he can back Ian Garry down, cut that distance off, if it gets close, if this fight is even anywhere near striking distance, I think that Carlos Prates has a great shot of winning.
I think as much as I love Carlos Prates, I really don't want to be against him because I do love to just see somebody who walks out there and just knocks heads off. Like that's exactly what this dude's born to do. But for a dude that's 21-6 being touted as, quote unquote, I mean, it's not quote unquote, but undefeated in the UFC. I mean, they're trying to paint a picture that's not necessarily true for him. Jean Silva, it's a little more true. Mauricio Rufy, okay, yeah, they're undefeated fighters kind of deal. Carlos Prates, he's lost 6 times. If you don't think Ian Garry can figure out a sliver of what those 6 fighters were able to accomplish, I mean, it's 5 rounds. Ian Garry has the cardio. He has the skill set. he has the ability to make fights. Boring is probably the bad way to say it, but he's able to take away the advantage of the opponent, I think, is what's key.
Well, you make a good point about it being a 5-round fight. How do you think that Carlos Prates' cardio ends up stacking up in a 5-rounder? I mean, we know the guy smokes a pack a day. I mean, or not, not a pack, but he smokes a lot of cigarettes. For an MMA fighter, it is very unusual to smoke cigarettes, and Carlos Prates is a very proud smoker, lighting up
Yeah.
inside the arena sometimes.
Yeah, so I don't know how the cardio is going to hold up. It is a 5-round fight. It is somewhat short notice. Oh, it is actually short notice. This only happened like 2 weeks ago that they got this kind of main event. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think all things considered, I think Gary's got it.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll stick to the guns here and go with Prates. And this really does not have anything to do with my opinions about Ian Gary, because I'm becoming more of a fan over time. I mean, like obviously all the goofy stuff with him. Again, it's outside the cage nonsense that's fun to talk about, and it's entertaining for sure. But Ian Gary is certainly the guy that will take any fight that you put in front of him. He's taken on the boogeymen of the division time and time again now. No one wanted to fight Shavkat. He was the dude to step up and do it. Prates is another dude that I'm sure that people are turning down at this point, knowing what he's been able to do. So I have a lot of respect for Ian Gary, and again, the game planning is something I respect very highly, not only for Gary but also for his team, because I think that he's got a really solid core group of individuals around him that are helping him put together solid navigations of these fights. That being said,
yeah, shout out his wife and her ex-husband.
Yeah, right. How much of their involvement in his game planning, where that lands, I don't know. But hopefully there's an actual adult in the room who's doing the actual nuts and bolts of the operation. But either way, it's the Fighting Nerds, brother. It's the Fighting Nerds. What can you say? I mean, until I see some concrete evidence, and this could be the concrete evidence right here, that that there is a crack in the armor. And don't even mention Bruno Brazil to me.
No, I actually want to bring up something that I think is interesting. It is very rare. Maybe it's not rare, but you have those fighters that in your mind are unbeatable. It is crazy to me that in the rare case that you find a fighter unbeatable, you also find, not you specifically, but in general, you also find a whole team that you say is just, nobody's got a fucking answer for them. They're all winning that shit straight to the gold, 4 champs, 4 different divisions. It's like, when can we start to be a little realistic and not think that these guys are just on the way to superstar gold? Like,
no, you're absolutely correct in that thinking. And any one of these fights, that's what I was just saying as you were starting to talk there, is that this could be the fight that changes the perception a little bit, at least. This could be the one. I think if anybody has a shot to be that person, it's certainly Ian Gary.
Yeah, it's not no damn Bryce Mitchell or fucking Bobby Green. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that the levels are certainly different. And I mean, this is such a huge jump for Prates as well. I mean, this is going to be putting him, what's Gary ranked at right now, 2?
Yeah, it should be 2.
So
right behind Shavkat.
There you go. So I mean, this is this would be an insane catapulting into the mega stardom area of this division. So yeah, I mean, could this be one of the ones that starts to show the cracks in the armor? Absolutely, it could be. But I mean, I felt the same way about Patty. In the fight now, going into it with Michael Chandler that we just talked about recently. And I was like, look, until I see some concrete evidence to prove otherwise. Now, I mean, you did mention the losses. The losses are there. But I mean, 21 fights or with wins, 20 or it's 27 fights total, 21 of them being wins. The dude has the cage experience. I mean, he's definitely he's not a newbie. He's not green. So I think that, if as long as he studies tape, which I guarantee you those Fighting Nerds are probably, they're the kind of guys that are like sitting there with the clipboard, like writing down time codes. You know what I mean? Like, at this point he did this, so this is the thing that you need to do, kind of thing. Like, that's the level that I would put those guys at. If that's going to be the case, I think that Ian Gary has a solvable equation. And if Carlos Prates is the guy who can game plan a way into that, then I'm with it until I see otherwise.
Yeah, if he beats Gary, I mean, it's kind of hard to say what's next for him. I mean, not hard to say, but like, you know what's coming next if he beats Gary. I mean, there's no questions about it. So I don't know. This one would be very interesting, but on short notice, this is a loss that if Carlos Prates loses, you could say, well, it was on short notice. I mean, come on, you can't really hold that against him, you know.
Fuck that. Whatever. No hedging and excusing on that. I mean, you look. I do understand that it is part of the equation on this, but I mean, Carlos Prates he's battle ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of those kind of guys, I would say. So I don't want to hear any.
He's got
like
his cigarette smoked, dude. He's ready, you know.
goddamn right, dude. That's old school UFC. Go smoke a cigarette and then go fight the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, no. So I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here making excuses if he does lose. Like, he needs to go in there, be ready, and recognize this opportunity. Because really, if you think about it, we were just talking about Ikram Alaskirov. It's not exactly the same, but it's somewhat similar. And in some capacity, this is his Robert Whittaker moment right now. Go out there and go fight a dude who has racked up a ton of wins. And be the guy that can take that spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm still just leaning with Gary. I think he's earning so many browning points over there at the UFC. Dana White probably loves this kid. I mean, taking the 2 fights that you can't get booked, that you desperately need to get a high ranked opponent against, Ian Gary's that perfect guy for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're definitely right there. I mean, you touched on it a little bit. This is the last thing I wanted to bring up is so do you not think that Ian Gary is going to try to go for the wrestling?
I think he will if that is what the situation calls for. I think he's going to try to feel it out on the feet first because at heart he is a striker. He wants to prove like I can beat the best guys at what they do. Not necessarily what he may end up doing, but if the striking doesn't have much success, I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow gets a hold. It's going to be interesting how he gets him to the ground though, because Prates is really good at single leg defense.
Yeah. I was going to say the takedown defense is really strong, but again, 5-rounder, I think that's going to be the big deciding factor here. Is if this fight goes later into the deeper rounds. At that point, I think Gary does have a much better shot. And we haven't seen Prates tested in a 5-rounder like that. I mean,
I haven't seen him really tested at all, kind of deal.
It's a good point. I mean, he's been running through these guys left and right. So, this is definitely a good shot for him to show just how much of a mixed martial artist he is. Yeah.
I just can't wait after, and I'm not trying to listen again. I'll say it for a third time. I really do like Carlos Prates, but for the conversation's sake, I can't wait until he loses because then I get to talk about how, well, Charles Radke's not a fucking worthy opponent to get a goddamn main event spot against Ian Gary against, like Yi Jing Liang. I mean, come on, guys. Like, fuck.
All right. I'm with it. I respect the thought process here. And I don't think it's wildly out of the question at all.
Yeah.
So, I'll stick with the guns on this one. I'll take Carlos Prates, but I'm hearing what you're saying, and I think there's a good likelihood of you being correct on this one. So if you come back next week, you'll find out who is correct and who is not. We have now locked in our picks, so feel free to roast us on the next episode of this show for all of the correct and incorrect picks that we had. Is there anything else that we wanted to talk about this week, Chase?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Adrikas is apparently injured, everybody, so Hamzat is now looking for another opponent. We can throw that in really quick because there's not really much else to say about it. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter.
Yeah, who do you think deserves it?
I mean, apparently Kaio wants it, and I don't think that is a horrible option if it's going to be short notice fill-in. Not short notice, but, if it's going to be a non-title fill-in, that's somebody who we're kind of curious to see what would happen, I mean, and if he comes out here and does it, I mean, shit, fuck. Then we get Hamzat finally out of there, and if he never gets a title shot, wow, would that be epic? Like, whew.
That would be a crazy course correction, change of course on that one. Am I mistaken, or is this the International Fight Week that was for?
Don't think they've said anything.
Well, when that event was for, I thought that event was the International Fight Week event
for Drikas and Hamzat.
Yeah,
they never. It's not booked. Like there's.
It wasn't. Oh, it wasn't actually fully on the books.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it had been like firm announced.
No.
Okay,
It
so
was just
then
heavily implied, and Dana
gotcha.
White said, "Yeah, Hamzat's next," kinda deal.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so all right, well, yeah, then I mean, yeah, look, him versus Kaio, I think is great. Shout out to Kaio, man. I mean, another dude who's out here like trying to take on everybody and anybody, and I guess I don't know if we talked about this on the show. Nasruddin Imavov ducking the hell out of him.
Yeah, exactly. So Kaio's another one of these fighting nerds. Will they continue to beat everybody in the division? I'm excited to see, but I'm a little skeptical as we continue on in their careers. It was nice to believe that they're undefeated, and I'm like, oh man, I knew they were going to be good, but like now is the point where we're going to have to find out just how good they are. Are they actually? Is one of them going to be great, or two of them going to be decent? Is one going to retire early? Like that's what's next here. I'm waiting to see what's next in the careers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like we really are on the precipice of that time where it's like, it's going to be now or never when these losses start happening. So yeah, I agree. And I mean, as far as Kaio goes, with either Hamzat or whoever, yeah, I mean, like he is a dude who I think it has made such massive improvements over time. Like the real time improvements in Kaio have been very noticeable. If you follow like the trajectory of his fights, like from where he started to where he is now. So I think that he's going to be like he's like always been like the flagship nerd to me. I know a
He's
lot of people.
Leonardo. He's the leader.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, so like I think that with him, it's like he's going to be the one that should like set the tone. So like the next one that he ends up getting, like whatever the fight is, if it's Hamzat, if it's Imavov, whoever they end up pairing him up with, like I think that he needs to continuously set the tone for the rest of the team. And if he ends up losing, then you might start seeing some cards start to fall.
Yeah, I hear that. I can totally get with it.
Yeah, so we'll see about all of that, but yeah, I guess that is about all of the news of the day that we really wanted to touch on. So I guess we'll close this thing out. We will both be doing individual watch-alongs for the event this weekend in Kansas City. Chase will be on his channels. I will be on mine. Mine are at Yama Show, youtube.com/@Yama Show on Twitch, Kick, and Trovo. And Chase, I know that you can tell them what yours are.
They certainly can find me doing watch along streams on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. Sometimes I'm having fun on X, formerly known as Twitter, @Creative Partin, Partin, and that's where the fun happens. And like we said earlier in the stream, if you want some personalized last week's fights merch, these are also available, and we have a lot of different colors in stock now. So
guys,
hit me up.
get yourself some merch. You will not regret it. It is a worthy purchase. Support the show early. You're going to have merch that no one else is going to have. When we start mass producing this merch, you're not going to have these designs anymore. These designs are going to get retired at that point, and you're not going to be able to get them again. So if you get them now, you'll always be able to say that you were an OG supporter, and that's some real deal shit right there.
Yep, and we appreciate you guys very much.
Absolutely, we certainly do. You can find me on the socials at Yama Show on X and on Instagram. We're still, to this day, people I check every week, we are still trying to figure out the Facebook situation. But if you search Yelling About Mixed Martial Arts, you can find me on Facebook as well. And we will be back next Monday at 10 o'clock to talk about all of these fights after they have concluded. So hope to see you then. Hope to see you for the watch-alongs. New video is out on the channel now, too, about Ahmad Hassanzadeh. You can check that out for a little bit more detail on that. And yeah, that's about it, everybody. We'll catch up with you next week. Have a great rest of the week. And until we see you, fight on.
Change.